Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be another episode of SNTR Gaming, and we'll be walking through my predictions for the winners of the Game Awards. We will also be live streaming and co-streaming it this evening when it happens. So if you're looking for that, make sure you hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss what I do on the channel when we go live. Monday through Friday, we're here in the mornings doing a talk show. Usually right here at the front, I give you like a 4 or 5 minute video that is essentially everything that you might be looking for. Maybe it's impressions on a new game, or my coverage of a certain video game news topic. But for the Video Game Awards winners predictions, I'm also going to be giving my opinions on what I think should win. It's a pretty lengthy video. My podcast broadcast style usually goes for about 3 hours. So if you're watching this later, you may want to click forward and try and find each individual category. Of all of the ones, there is 30 categories. Some of them are less important to me. I'm even going to argue about why I think Returnal got robbed by not even getting a Game of the Year nomination. I just cannot fathom how it did not get that nomination when Deathloop did. And so we will be going through each category, having a lot of fun, looking forward to the show this evening, breaking down all the different things. When I go into the scenes, it'll probably look like this. So again, if you're wanting to, scroll forward and find whenever I start going through the categories, I'll be doing that with a live audience here shortly. I'm not going to do it right here, right at the beginning of the stream. I like to let people get in and say good morning and press the like button and do all those ritualistic things before we dive headfirst into my Video Game Awards winners predictions. And, somebody's already saying in chat, if Deathloop wins, I'm quitting gaming. That is the one in the Game of the Year nominations that I think makes the least amount of sense. It's purely up there because of the review scores. The review scores, generally, I just do not think, I don't think they encapsulate that game very, very well. I think it's a very, very overstated quality in that game. I don't think it's as good as everyone says it is. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it certainly isn't, in my mind, award-winning with respect to a lot of the things that are in it. The mechanics, the polish, and everything else. So, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. Good to see you all. I try to give shout-outs in the morning if I can sometimes. Good to see King Keys, Kareem, Mithrax, Polarin, Silver Subaru, Zelda Heart, Jatoic, Gaming Fire. Might be new games announced. You'll be shocked and surprised. Yeah, I'm excited about the announcements there'll be tonight. The reason we want to cover this morning is we didn't want to have to slam this in the lead up tonight, right? The lead up to the show. We'll go live. I'm probably going to go live around 6:45. That'll give us about a 45-minute run up to the show starting. I think they're going to go live at 7 and probably have a countdown or trailers and stuff. The Game Awards are decided by the critics from Game of the Year 2020. It's even written on the website. Before 2020, it was decided by the public. That's why they created a new awards from 2020 called Gamer's Choice. Well, is Gamer's Choice going to be happening during the broadcast, or have they already done Gamer's Choice? Because the announcements are definitely the only reason why I'm watching. Yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe seeing some stuff. There's rumors we might get some Elden Ring stuff this evening, and I think that'll be really exciting going into from Friday. That should be really, really good. Maybe that'll even give us something to talk about tomorrow. I'd be interested in you all giving your own winners predictions. I don't know if we can put 6 options on a poll, though, so we can periodically during this broadcast do a poll and ask you guys which ones that you think are going to win, and we might have to just exclude some. I think we can do a total of 5 options on a poll. Hang on, let me see here. No, I can only do 4 options on a poll, so we're gonna have to just limit it to the ones that we think are the front runners, I guess. With respect to Game of the Year, I definitely think that, Resident Evil Village and, no, I don't know. I think Deathloop and It Takes Two are probably the two of the least likely to win in that category. So, Game of the Year for a vote where someone can vote multiple times. Game of the Year for a vote where someone can vote multiple times. I'm not sure what you mean. Yo, good morning, feed. Good to see you in the chat. They put Halo Infinite in Gamer's Choice nomination before it's even released. Like, what does that even mean? What category do they have Halo in? Is it an anticipated game or is it an action game? Where did they put Halo Infinite? I've not seen that. I saw somebody say that. Is it shooter? Is there a shooter category? Let's see here. Let's try to pull it up and let's examine this and maybe even talk about it. How can you put a game up like that's not even fully out? Oh, they put it in player's choice. Oh, well, that's entirely different. That's entirely different. That's letting players vote that have. I mean, they played the multiplayer. I mean, I guess they'd be basing their vote off of things that they've seen. I don't know. Did I say hello to Feed? I see you in the chat, Feed. Good to see you. Well, I'm wrong, but also I'm not. I'm not really sure what you mean. Oh, right. The players did that. Okay. Yeah, if the players did that, I mean, what are you going to do if the public rallies behind a game that's not even out yet? I mean, I don't know. I think the Game Awards are pointless. Are other people's opinions on the best game really that important? I don't understand why people take it so seriously. I mean, I don't know why you would take any award ceremony seriously then. Like, if it's not for you, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but they do very similar things with with the Grammys or the Oscars. I mean, it's driven by two things, the public praise and support, and then obviously the commercial success of a movie or an album or a game, as well as people in the industry giving it, the critics, the reviews, those sorts of things. So, I mean, my Video Game Awards winners predictions, some of the times is not going to be what I think should win. It's what I think will win. So, like, I'm going to make predictions about some of these games winning, and I'm going to be like, this is probably the one that's going to win, even if I wouldn't pick it, right? The Game Awards, to me, sometimes are pretty predictable about what's going to win. I don't think Game of the Year is even a contest. Like, I don't think anything's close to Ratchet. I don't think these other games stand a chance. I think Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is absolutely the front runner, but at the same time, I would disagree with that one winning. I think Returnal should have been nominated. I think it's a more ambitious and new and fresh title than the others that are up there. Honestly, if you go purely based on what's up there with respect to new franchise, then It Takes Two deserves more votes, because Resident Evil Village, Ratchet and Clank, Psychonauts 2, and Metroid Dread all are pulling on existing franchises, nostalgia, and support to make their games. That's not taking away from the greatness of those games, but I think you should have a significant leg up in the contest when you're a brand new IP. And It Takes Two and Deathloop are the only two up there that are brand new. The rest of them are building on an existing franchise. Now, Metroid Dread obviously is building on the franchise of Metroid, which it's been an age since we've had a Metroid like this, so that's good. But at the same time, that still gives you an advantage in the market, right? That gives you an advantage in the market. It really, truly does. The Game Awards 2021, how many games are we seeing nominated that have, a nice advantage in the market? They've got an existing fan base, people that they've got brand awareness. All of those things assist the game to do well, right? It's not Name It Take Two anymore. They've not changed the name. That still hasn't been resolved. DBS Purge renewing their membership. Good morning, Lono. Hope everyone's doing well today. 3 months from DBS Purge. Guys, give us our first 100 likes. 12 more likes to get us our first 100 likes. Thanks for coming in this morning for my Video Game Awards winners predictions. Going to give you guys my thoughts here. We'll probably do it in I don't know. We'll wait. I don't want to bum rush this. We got a whole show to do here. It Takes Two is pretty much never going to win a massive award since it was an actually good game and it hit you in the chest with an amazing message. I don't know why that would mean it wouldn't win though. I voted for It Takes Two. I would have voted for Returnal, but it's not nominated. I was trying to say you can't give credence to an award that allows people to vote multiple times. Oh, are you talking about the Halo one, Eugene? Yeah, I mean, people rallying to get Halo Infinite on there. I mean, come on. The game's not even fully out yet. It wasn't at the time. It is now. I mean, that's debatable, right? If it's fully out. Greenside with 4 months of membership. Welcome back. Metroid Dread for the win. Okay. It's going to be hard to do polls. I would love to do polls, but I don't know. I think the challenge, it's a really, really big challenge because we can only pick 4. I've got to pick the 4 that I think are the best in a group, the 4 that I think are the most likely to win, and then let you guys decide, right? It has no controversy in its message. Neither does Resident Evil, Ratchet and Clank, Psychonauts 2, Metroid Dread, or Deathloop. There's nothing really controversial in their messages. They're all very different, I would say. Came in, smashed the like button, and said, hey, now it's time to go to work. Hopefully the show goes well today. Gonna catch a show later. Oh, thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. You think Fable will win? 10 out of 10. You'll think it'll be Ratchet because Returnal's not there. I tend to agree with you, Veter. I really do. I think because next gen has to be playing a part in this discussion in this year. Game Awards 2021. Like, think about it. It's 2021. Next gen has to play a part, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is the most next gen in the group. It just is. I mean, that's a facts, Jack. You know, that doesn't mean it's better. I'm just saying that has to be a factor. It's scoring points in a category that the rest of these titles scores no points in. You know, Doom Eternal is greater than Halo Infinite. I mean, I don't understand that comparison doesn't make any sense to me. That just doesn't. If no Returnal, then Deathloop would be Game of the Year. You would pick Deathloop as your Game of the Year, really? Wow. I just didn't think it was that great. There was a lot in it that I thought was just not designed well. That I didn't think it was a very strong game at all. Ratchet's the true next-gen game this year. Yeah, if you look at the history of video games, I don't think Ratchet will get passed over here. I really don't. I don't think it's very likely. There's not any other really true next-gen games up there on the docket. I mean, if Returnal was up there, I think they might have given it to Returnal, but Returnal struggled because of the rogue nature. I think a lot of people didn't get past, second or third biome and just kicked their teeth in, Returnal was pretty next-gen too. The levels were partially procedurally generated. Well, the levels were not procedurally generated. No, that's not true. There were elements, there were set pieces that came in different order, and then... No, they don't even come in different order. That's not true either. They're all the same set pieces, and the items in them are random. There's nothing procedurally generated in Returnal. Unless I'm completely ignorant about the mechanics of that game, there's nothing in Returnal that is procedurally generated. The graphics and the audio design are phenomenal, and it's my game of the year, but I don't think there's anything in it that does that. Returnal won some Game of the Year awards. I'm glad for Housemark. I am too. They deserved to be up here, if for one reason only. They're on the best direction category, right? The sets change. The rooms are never in the same order. Right, that's what it is. Returnal has established set pieces that come in different order, but that's not procedurally generated. Many people didn't get the game because of the rogue and the no save mode. That's exactly right, Veter. That's exactly right. Halo the Endless trademark. Going for a Microsoft sweep this year? Yeah, I don't think so. Mo. Mo's on that Microsoft copium, dude. It's so hard to admit that Microsoft has not had a strong year in the games market. Like, they just haven't. The launch titles that PlayStation was able to put out has just been significantly... What PlayStation's been able to do, I think, has been impressive. I think Microsoft this was not their year. I think next year potentially could be a very good year for Microsoft, for sure. Okay, I've got somebody saying Avowed will be at the Game Awards, Fable will be at the Game Awards. You're talking absolute nonsense. I'm sorry to call you out, but you're wrong. Game of the year is that werewolf game. Oh, man. That werewolf game, dude, is... It's a long-standing meme here. It really is. Returnal should have been 50 or 60. That's debatable. That's debatable. The amount of content that's there, the graphics, the quality, the work that went into it, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Just because it's not some big, long, expansive, linear, single-player game doesn't mean there's not tons of content for you to enjoy. I don't agree with that at all. I know a lot of people thought that Returnal should have been a $40 or $50 game. I disagree. Strongly disagree. People sleeping on that Viking game. What you talking about, Valheim? The Valheim game that we played? The werewolf game should get an award for trying. Creature's putting the coffee emotes in chat. He wants to know who's going to be the first coffee order today. Maybe he's asking me what I'm drinking. I'm having the dark roast this morning. I've been working my way through dark roast, and my wife's been having the Frickmas blend. Sony official blog calls what Returnal does procedural generation. I mean, but okay, but that's not, I get why they would say that, but it's not procedural generation. It isn't. Like, it is, but it isn't. Do you know what I'm saying? Jonathan says, It Takes Two should win Game of the Year. I think It Takes Two is a phenomenal game. I don't think it stands a chance against Ratchet. That's why I said partial. But procedural generation is so dangerous to use as a term because it has baked in it the like this presupposition or maybe this presumption that like, oh, you're generating all this different stuff. No, they're just every time the rooms come in a different order, and that's what's procedural about it. But like, I just think we need to be careful with that term because procedurally generated sounds like, oh, it's always going to be different every time. Yeah, but not really. As soon as the door opens, you know what room you're in. Like, it's not like this room's completely different from the last time. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to quibble about it, but I think it's a silly thing to call it procedural generation. Even though if it's technically true, I think it is slightly misleading. I didn't play Ratchet, but I hear a lot of people supporting It Takes Two instead. Well, I think if we pull the list up here, this is something that I've been saying. Out of this list, It Takes Two is one of only two on here that are brand new IPs. Metroid, Psychonauts, Ratchet, and Resident Evil are not brand new IPs. So It Takes Two and Deathloop, according to my own framework, those two deserve better treatment because they're brand new IPs. This is one of the reasons why Returnal should be on this list, because not only is it a brand new IP, it is one of the incredibly short list of truly next-gen games to launch in 2021. There were almost no games that launched this year that were actually next-gen, and Returnal's one of them. Not only is it one of them, but it was ambitious. A bullet hell 3D action-adventure rogue from a studio that's never built a game like that? Are you serious? And you didn't nominate it? What are we even talking about? They got absolutely robbed. Returnal is significantly better than Deathloop at like 8 different points. It doesn't even stand to reason. In a year where there's almost no next-gen titles, how you can put something up there that isn't even next-gen and leave Returnal off the list. Swap Resident Evil for Returnal. The reason you can't swap Resident Evil for Returnal is because Resident Evil is actually very close to being next-gen. It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. And Resident Evil was highly praised by the Resident Evil community. It was a return to the more classic Resident Evil feel. It was an excellent game. I just didn't like it. Me not liking it doesn't mean that I can't see the inherent quality of Resident Evil Village. I didn't like it at all, but it was an excellently built and designed game, and it was praised by the community and received very good reviews. Deathloop was sus from the start. The game just isn't 10 out of 10, and it was getting those reviews. Now it's nominated Game of the Year. Sounds like deep pockets. No, it sounds like it's a cultural decision. I have absolutely... See, here's one of the problems is that there are multiple levels of diversity discussions that happen, right? There are people that are immediately irritated if there's diversity in a game because they're an idiot, okay? So I don't align myself with those people. I don't like those people, okay? I think they're ignorant. But there's also people that think if it's diverse, it's automatically good, right? I don't think that's helpful either. I think they're both falling into the ditch of like death by bias, right? Your bias is making your opinion so hard to take credit for, right? Strongly disagree. Deathloop combat's 10 out of 10. Deathloop combat is not 10 out of 10. Deathloop combat has so many actual measurable, reported, sloppy inconsistencies. The AI is not consistent. The controls have some issues sometimes. It's an Arcane game, so it's loose. Doesn't have a good tight feel to it at all. No. The Deathloop combat is not 10 out of 10. I had issues with hit detection. We had issues with inconsistency in AI detection. We had issues with the target acquisition of the enemy, making movement almost incredibly frustrating. Deathloop's combat was meh. Returnal combat's 10 out of 10. It's just shooting. What? Yeah. Returnal's combat is just shooting. Come on, Cliff. Come on. No. Returnal's combat is incredibly in-depth. What are you even talking about? No. It has actual RPG elements of leveling weapons, different perks, different builds, the movement, the awareness, the spatial environments with respect to dodging bullet hell attacks and iframes. It's not just shooting. Just shooting? You're just trying to trigger me, Cliff. Just shooting? Just words? Just words? Just shooting. It is one of the most beautifully built, best feeling third-person shooters I've ever played. It's wonderful. It's award-winning. It should be winning awards. It didn't do well. It didn't do well because review outlets couldn't get past the third biome. I couldn't get past third biome either. Demony Christmas. Clifford. Why is Forza not on there? Because it's just driving. It's just driving. I actually don't know why Forza's not on there. It also is one of the very few truly next-gen games to come out this year. You know? It's super short list of next-gen games that have come out this year. You know what I mean? Mr. Dark Souls for fun couldn't get past the second biome. Right! That's why it did poorly. The Biome 3 reaction when you won was priceless. Oh, yeah. That Biome 3 boss, that was so fun. That was so fun. Man, if you're here for Video Game Awards, winners, predictions, we'll be getting into that shortly. I'll be even doing polls with the chat, so welcome in. Hit subscribe if you want to talk in my chat. Welcome. We'll be co-streaming the Video Game Awards tonight. We got content all day long for you, okay? I'm going to be in your ear hole all day except for dinner, all right? I hope you're ready. I got first impressions of Halo Infinite with more Halo Infinite campaign gameplay. We got more of the Say No to Rage story. We got live AMA. We got the Video Game Awards co-stream tonight. But right now, Game Awards 2021 winners, predictions. We'll be combing through it in just a moment here. There is 30 categories. Some of them mean nothing to me, so. Why didn't I like Resident Evil Village? I thought Resident Evil 7 was a magnificent work of art that was a blend of the Resident Evil franchise themes and mechanics shoved into a beautifully crafted horror game. It was excellent. Resident Evil 7 was excellent. The storytelling, oh my gosh. The turns and the twists, so good. Okay? So good. And, okay, the Resident Evil Village departure from that was very disappointing. It was such a, in my mind, it just felt like a step backwards. It was like, we're going to go back to the more famous set design Resident Evil approach, and it just wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't scary. It felt like every house, every area was a mixture of puzzle and frustration. No fear, nothing scary about it at all. And then the ending was like some kind of Call of Duty wannabe nonsense. I was like, what the frick is this? What is this? Now, here's the thing. The Resident Evil community loved Resident Evil Village because it harkened back to a bygone era of Resident Evil, and they did it with like next-gen graphics, and so that people loved it for that reason. I did not. That's on me. That's subjective. I can say that and still be like, Resident Evil deserves to be up there. It's a beautiful game. I think it might even have like a next-gen level of graphical fidelity, and it went back to the more like, old-style Resident Evil feel. My man Gritter says, I'm rooting for Metroid Dread to get Game of the Year. I love your hopefulness, Gritter. I do. But there's no way it wins. No way. Nothing. Ratchet's the clear front runner. I can't see how it isn't. Village was way too linear and scripted and full of baby puzzles, unlike the old RE trilogy. That Slug Baby, though, yeah, that house can burn in a real fire. Just burn it down. Oh my gosh, that house was terrible. The doll house was terrible. Lurker and Chief has arrived. What's good, Splataw? If you guys are new, press subscribe. Hit that little bell button so you don't miss the streams. Smash that like button. We've already gotten a couple of new subs this morning. Welcome in. Let's go Pikachu for Game of the Year. I could see Ratchet and Clank getting it. Yeah. I would love to see Metroid finally win, but I don't think it's got a good shot. No, when you look at this lineup, it's clear to me. It's just clear to me. There is one title that stands out. It checks more boxes than the other titles, right? I think they're all tied to a certain extent. Like, I think Resident Evil Village, Ratchet, Psychonauts 2, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, I think they're all tied with respect to gameplay. They delivered excellent gameplay in their genre and in their franchise. I didn't like the gameplay in Village, but I believed that they all delivered excellent gameplay within their franchises. And then Ratchet says, I'll do you one better. I will take things to the next level. I will do things on the next-gen consoles that wasn't possible before now, with respect to the instantaneous loading, seamlessness between cutscenes, the riffs, the graphical fidelity. It's in another category. And the other ones are like, yeah, we didn't go there. We didn't go to that planet. We stayed here on this planet. That's why I think Ratchet's just going to blast out ahead of everybody and sweep a lot of the awards this year. They are. Going to play God of War on PC in January? Yeah, we will probably most definitely check it out just to see it. There's no way we're going to play it to completion. That's not really something that we were able to do here. It'd be a kick in the teeth if a Bethesda game won. Right. I want to point out that my inside source was correct on Charlie Cox info he gave a while ago for those that doubted me. I didn't doubt you. JB. I hope you and the family are well. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Miss seeing you around. I didn't doubt you at all. And Vince D'Onofrio is too good to leave on the sidelines as Kingpin. Come on. I need him in a movie with one of the Spider-Men. With one of them. One of those Spider-Mans. In my opinion, It Takes Two moves the industry with its incredible gameplay, art design, and mechanics. I'll be honest with you. I can't disagree with what you're saying because It Takes Two is ambitious in the same way that Returnal was ambitious. I cannot believe that frickin' Returnal's not up there. Okay, and Deathloop is, whatever. So It Takes Two is ambitious in the same way that Returnal's ambitious. We're gonna do something that doesn't exist in the market right now. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Well, the only other one that exists is the one that they made, right? Didn't they make A Way Out, the purely co-op game where you break out of jail? Like, we're going to make an amazingly wonderful genre-blended co-op game. It's genre-blended. Creature tried to make that case to me over the phone. He was like, no, It Takes Two's Game of the Year. I'm like, why? He's like, it's like 5 genres in one, and they do it great. And he's like, and consider all the mini games. He was like, there's so much in that game. And I was like, I never thought of it like that. I just didn't. Brother's Tale also? Right. So It Takes Two does, in many ways, it does stand to be the sleeper like steal. They could be a sleeper on the board and they'll just steal it. And everybody like, my gosh, how? Why? Because it has like 5 genres in one. It's got a bunch of amazing mini games, excellent story, a meaningful story with great voice acting, the graphics, the performance, the gameplay, all of it. It honestly could be a sleeper steal for It Takes Two. If it doesn't go to Ratchet, then that's my thought, is that It Takes Two steals it and surprises everybody, right? Co-op nature deducts it for me. Well, the co-op nature deducting points would be like somebody saying that the rogue elements of Returnal deducts points. It's ambitious to create a purely co-op game in the same way that it's ambitious to create a 3D action-adventure bullet hell rogue. Like the build for Returnal would be a turnoff for a lot of people. I must say it's interesting that 4 of the top games are cute Nintendo-looking games. That hasn't happened in a long time. I like that observation. Ratchet, Psychonauts, and It Takes Two. Yeah. Wait, which? You're saying 4. You're saying cute. Oh, Nintendo looking. Yeah, Metroid then. Yeah. If you guys are tuning in for the Video Game Awards winners predictions, we're going to be combing over the list here in just a minute. I'm going to give you my argumentation about each category, what I would have picked, and then also what I think would have what I think will win. So didn't make this up. Take-Two have gone on a rampage of trademark disputes. They claim that they own the words Rockstar, Take-Two, Bully, and other variants. Remember the slippery slope? They're even trying to claim Hazelight Games' It Takes Two is profiting off of their brand. Yeah, Take-Two Interactive can literally suck on a giant bag of crusty toes. What the frick? What an absolute abusive company. Get the frick out of here. I don't know if I ever want to cover their games with what they've done. You think you can claim ownership of the word Rockstar, of Bully? Sit the frick down, you arrogant pile. Like, you're just a pile. Like, It Takes Two is a colloquialism. It's a song! It's a song! How old is the song? You don't have any claim on that. Sit down. I don't even want to cover their games. Every time I do a news report on one of their games, they claim the video because the trailer's in the background. Shut the frick up. Like, welcome to 2021. People should be allowed to make derivative content and include your dumb trailer with no sound. I don't like them. I have a distaste for them. They're not good for the industry. Shut up. I don't like them at all. Who's claiming it? Take-Two Interactive. They're trying to claim that the brand of It Takes Two is profiting from their brand's name. You know, they probably are profiting from your brand name, you dolts, because you're putting them into the press and now everybody's going to go buy and support their game because we all hate you. Like, good job. I guarantee that It Takes Two top of mind marketing, conversions, and sales got a nice bump because these boneheads at Take-Two Interactive think that, like, well, we can claim words. What? The word Rockstar. Really? The word Bully. Really? What on earth are you talking about? You're just bullying companies that are probably too scared to, like, stand up for themselves because it'll cost them a disproportionate amount of money to legally go toe-to-toe with you. Is Returnal 2 repetitive? Yes. Frustrating? Yes. Which boss is the hardest? Biome 3. Is Returnal harder than Dark Souls? Yes, but Mario Kart 150cc is harder. Will Returnal get a saves feature? Don't stop playing. How playable is Returnal? Loads if you suck. How long does it take to beat Returnal? 3 minutes. Does Take-Two really want to take on Pepsi Company? I don't know. I really, really don't. I just get irritated by it. Like, it's obviously personal for me. It's personal for me because I know what it's like to lack the resources to legally defend yourself against people or companies that are huge. I know what that feels like. And to go and pick on Hazelight Studios, you're this Leviathan company in the industry, and you're gonna be like, yeah, they're profiting from our brand. What on earth? You're disliked. Have you not caught on to the fact that people don't like you? You think people went and bought the video game It Takes Two because they were like, yeah, Take-Two Interactive, it's going to be a good game, because no. What are you talking about? It'd be funny if Rockstar Energy Drink and the Take-Two songwriter go after Take-Two. Oh, yeah, exactly. Rockstar, you're going to claim that word. What in the actual world? You're the one that named your company after something generic. It's not our fault that, like, well, we're going to name our company, I don't even know. We're going to name our company Loaf of Bread, and then be angry when people use the expression loaf of bread. Like, you're the morons that named your company. It's not even inspired. It's you're just some random thing. Like, yeah, we named our company Rockstar. Wow, that's original. Gee, I wonder why that word continues to be used all over the place. As if maybe it's not like a trademarked copyrightable thing. Sit down and shut the frick up. I can't watch that right now. Even the word star is claimed by them. Yeah, it's just gonna... He hates Take-Two. I don't hate Take-Two. I hate bullies is what I hate. Bullies are nothing more than weak, insecure cowards who use the appearance of power to seem strong. I hate bullies. Like, I don't know. So many people in the industry do sorts of things like that. It's just freaking irritating. All right, we got to get back on track here. There's no reason to keep slamming them for such an absurd idea that they can claim words. But if you're tuning in for Video Game Awards winners predictions, we're getting ready to go through it right now. About 30 minutes in, this should be a good starting point for this. So let me give you my thoughts on Game of the Year category. So the way that I approach Game of the Year category is I think through the realm of where the game has landed in the evolution of gaming. I think that's very, very important because there are games that have pushed gaming forward. There are games that have been transformative to the industry. And I think we are in a unique year for Game of the Year awards for one simple reason. We are in the era of a next generation console shift, which means there will be games nominated for certain things that have landed, I think, on the further end of the next gen perspective, as well as the spectrum of quality. So there are games that have attempted to go over into that next gen arena. These games would be Ratchet and Clank, Returnal, Forza, games that have attempted to say, we're going to trudge out into the next generation and pioneer what the next landscape can look like. These are games that I believe are worthy of note and potentially worthy of a nomination. So if you take that element of like, where are we right now in the history of video games, I think that's a very important thing to remember, because every year there are games that attempt to do the unthinkable. There are apparently Forspoken is a game that has its sights set on that, as well as potentially Star Citizen. I actually think Star Citizen's language hasn't quite been at the same level as Forspoken wants to be a pioneer, ambitious game. It's meaning and intending to take gaming forward. So I think that's a very important sort of starting place. Is you have to establish where we are right now in the history of video games, okay? Then secondly, I do think you have to look at the commercial success combined with the public response. So commercial success and public response. Now, commercial success has to be taken in context. As an example, Ratchet and Clank's commercial success is not going to be able to compete probably with Resident Evil because Resident Evil Village was on multiple platforms. So commercial success has to be viewed in context. How well did the game do where it landed? Similarly, Metroid Dread isn't going to have the commercial success of Deathloop because Deathloop was on lots of different platforms and probably had a much larger marketing budget. So commercial success is not as simple as who sold the most copies. It has to do with the fact that did the game do well and successful commercially for itself. A good example of this would be, as an indie title, Death's Door had like 100,000 sales its first week. Now, you would look at 100,000 sales and you would pit that against games that sold millions in their first week, and it would be an unfair comparison. But Death's Door was an indie title built by 2 people. Selling 100,000 copies is mind-blowingly impressive, okay? So commercial success, and then the consumer feedback. Now, consumer feedback is incredibly important, again, to pair with sort of the next category I'm going to talk about. So consumer feedback can come in a variety of ways, and I think consumer feedback must be weighed with the official critics and reviews feedback and parsed. The reason I think it should be parsed out is because oftentimes there is a significant difference between what the reviewers are saying and what the public is saying, right? So, as an example, Deathloop Metacritic, okay? There is a giant disparity between the official Metacritic reviews, 88, and the users of a 6.3. That is significant. There is a significant divide there between that, okay? Now, Returnal faced a significant challenge as well because a lot of people bought Returnal not knowing it was a rogue. But Returnal got an 85 from the Metacritic reviews and then a 7.3 from the users. So the chasm between the reviewers and the public is much smaller, and I would say healthier and better for Returnal, which is part of my reasoning why Returnal deserves to unseat Deathloop. I don't think Deathloop should be up there. I believe most of its review scores were overstated because we were in a gaming drought. I also believe people tend to play the cultural card because you have 2 protagonists, well, a protagonist and an antagonist. The main characters are persons of color, which should be celebrated, but is not necessarily something that gives it points in a Game of the Year discussion. Celebrating diversity and courageous, directors and authors of a game to say, we're going to do something that's very unprecedented right now, I think that should be celebrated, but it doesn't give you points on Game of the Year. I don't think that is, in my mind, sort of immaterial to the game's quality. It adds to the game's quality, but in a more immaterial way. It's not something objectively in the game that can be interacted with in a mechanical sort of gameplay way. It's immaterial. It's a cultural thing. It's an idea in our brains that this is important. That's why I'm saying that it's immaterial. Secondly, as related to the consumer's feedback combined with the sort of feedback of the reviewers and the critics needing to be weighed, I do think you have to consider, as I said a little bit ago, if it's a brand new IP. Something that 4 of the games up on the board have in common is that they are building off of established franchises. What this does is it can actually significantly help with respect to critic and consumer feedback. Why? It is familiar. It is beloved. It has been anticipated. All of these things can add to sort of an organic upward thrust of praise and reception for an established franchise. So established franchises, in my mind, should have to work significantly harder to win a Game of the Year award as well as a Game of the Year nomination, okay? All of this, I believe, is very important in establishing how do you arrive at a Game of the Year nomination. I believe everything I've outlined should be considered. So, the fact that Returnal was a brand new IP, and in many cases a brand new genre, there is virtually no third-person action-adventure bullet hell rogues in existence. It also was one of the very few games this year to be truly next-gen, both in its graphical representation, the mechanics of how the game functioned, the haptic feedback in the controller, and the audio design. I think all of those kick Deathloop right off the table. Deathloop's sound design was not that great. Its soundtrack was phenomenal. Its voice acting was incredible, but its sound design was so-so. Its controls, its combat, its enemy AI was also pretty inconsistent and at times very sloppy, and everything about Returnal is tight, crisp, and runs incredibly well. That is why I do not think Deathloop deserves to be up there. I believe Deathloop is primarily up there because of the overwhelming scores that it got that were 9s and 10s that I see them being undeserved. I believe it is a 7 or 8 at best. It is worthy of praise. It is worthy of being played, but it is not a 9 or a 10. Those 9s or 10s are mainly the only reason that it is up there. Returnal, unfortunately, had too many reviewers that couldn't even get past the 2nd or 3rd biome, thus short-circuiting their ability to review and critique the game as a whole entire object. It would be like watching 30 minutes of The Lord of the Rings and reviewing the movie. You've not seen the thing in its entirety. You've not seen all of its parts, so your review is very superficial. So, all of those things go into Game of the Year. Now, all of those things going into Game of the Year is why my pick is Returnal. I think Returnal shouldn't just be up there. I think it deserves to win. For everything I just stated, it checks all those boxes. It's super important at this moment in time in gaming, being next gen and pushing things forward. It was a brand new IP. It was a brand new idea, and the substance of its parts, its design, is brilliantly done and crafted at every level. The storytelling, the audio design, all of it. It has very, very few, I think, flaws within what it set out to do. Given that Returnal is not up there, right now, I would pick what I think will win, and what I would vote for is Ratchet and Clank, okay? Ratchet and Clank, I think, Rift Apart, checks all of the boxes that I talked about. It is truly next gen. I think that gives it a leg up in the discussion. It does things that all these other games are not doing with respect to pushing technology forward. It is graphically phenomenal. It is the combat and the way they even brought their franchise forward, I think, is stunningly brilliant, and it deserves to win. Now, the other caveat I will add here is that It Takes Two, okay? It Takes Two, I think, checks a lot of the boxes that I outlined. It is courageous. It is ambitious. It's a new idea of playing through an action-adventure game purely co-op. It's got 4 or 5 different genres in it, and it does it exceptionally well. There's mini games. There's all these different things about it. It Takes Two could be the sleeper steal that takes place here. I really think so. It might be a possibility. I predict that Ratchet and Clank is undeniably the game to beat. I think it's the front runner. I think it checks more boxes than the rest of these games check. I think it is an established franchise, which does make it, in my mind, not as good as Returnal, but Returnal's not up here. So I can't vote for Returnal, and I can't make a prediction that Returnal will win. Even if Returnal was up here, I still think that Ratchet would win, right? I do. Now, unfortunately, we can't do a poll. I mean, I can do a poll, but I can only put 4 games up there. So, I don't know. What 4 would we pick? It's almost impossible, right? I don't know what 4 games. I mean, I guess I could pick 4 games and ask you guys what you think. So, if you're just tuning in and you want to join the conversation, hit subscribe. That way you can talk in my chat, and then you can be a part of what we're discussing. Hey, our first order of coffee was 20 minutes ago. I am so sorry. A bag of the dark roast to Mick D09. Thank you so much for doing that. Who's going to be the next coffee order? Exclude Deathloop. Get out Psychonauts for starters for me. Pick the top 3 and the 4th can be other. Do a few polls. I mean, I think that It Takes Two and Deathloop. Actually, I'm sorry. I think that Metroid Dread and Deathloop, they stand to get. They don't stand a chance. I think it really is between Resident Evil, Ratchet, Psychonauts, and It Takes Two. I think if you take off Deathloop and Metroid, you have the true front. You have the true top 4. That's what I think. So I suppose we could do that. Which is your Game of the Year vote? All right. Ratchet and Clank, right? What is that? Psychonauts 2, add an option. Resident Evil Village, and then It Takes Two. I don't think Metroid and Deathloop stands a chance, and I don't think Deathloop should be up there, so I'm not including it in the poll. I think I've made a very good case as to why Deathloop does not deserve to be up there when Returnal exists. They both set out to make rogues. One's next gen and ambitious, and the other is not. So, there we go. Cast your vote there. What is your Game of the Year vote? I can already see that Mo was chomping at the bit to press Psychonauts before anybody else voted. Resident Evil 7 isn't Game of the Year material. Here's why I disagree with you. I believe that Resident Evil 8, I think you meant to put 8 instead of 7. Resident Evil 8 is a beautifully crafted continuation of a franchise that received very, very high praise, and I'm fairly certain it received commercial success. I'm fairly certain its commercial success was, I think it did very, very well. I could be wrong on the commercial success angle, okay? But the Resident Evil Village Metacritic is an 84 from the Metacritic reviewers and an 8.5 from the users. It absolutely crushes Deathloop. The Metacritic divide between between the Metacritic reviewers and the public is like an 88 and a 6.3. That's suspect. Resident Evil is like locked in. 8.4 and an 8.5. No, you can't dispute that. You simply cannot dispute that. Resident Evil 8, as much as I didn't like it, was an excellently built, highly praised game. Okay? I don't think you can say, oh, it doesn't deserve to be up there. It is, I think you can prove with respect to the public's response and the actual issues with some of the game elements of Deathloop. Deathloop has no business being up there. It just doesn't. So, GOTY stands for Game of the Year. So, when I see a game receive that level of consistent praise, there is no doubt in my mind that it deserves to be nominated. Like, when the users agree that much with the reviewers, you've got something good on your hands. You've got something good on your hands. The Psychonauts 2 Metacritic, 8.9. I'm sorry. 8.9 from the reviewers and a 6.9 from the public. Do you see? Do you see the trend here? Do you see the trend? Returnal, Ratchet. Let's see what how Metroid Dread did. Let's see how Metroid Dread did. 88, an 8.8, and 8.7. Don't you see how Psychonauts 2 and Deathloop have no business being up there? It takes two, an 8.9 from the reviewers and an 8.5 from the user score. What a surprise. The two games up there that I think have no business being up there, both of them have the biggest divide between the reviewers and the public. How can you not see that as a pattern? Both Deathloop and Psychonauts have the biggest divide up there between what the reviewers said and what the public said. That should give you pause. That should give you pause. How many Visionaries did you beat? I don't know, 2 or 3. It was sloppy game. The AI was awful. The controls were sloppy. I'm telling you, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think I have agreement from the public. Even as much flack as Returnal got from people about the lack of save and people bought it not understanding how rogues work, why do I have to go back to the beginning? Even Returnal has a better, reviewer to public divide. It doesn't have as big of a gap as Deathloop and Psychonauts. Both Deathloop and Psychonauts have no business being up there for that reason. It's just like, why? The public doesn't agree with you. The public doesn't agree with the review scores. It's clear. Very, very clear. Deathloop was review bombed by Sony fanboys because it was made by an Xbox studio. Yeah, Forza Horizon 5, a 9.2 from reviewers and an 8.6 from the users. Another game that should be up there. Forza should be up there instead of Psychonauts, and Returnal should be up there instead of Deathloop. There is no chance that either of those games win. If they win, if Deathloop wins, it's a political win. That's not a genuine win. I'm gonna say it right now. That's a cultural point win. It has nothing to do with the substance of that game or even look at what the public thought of it. No. When you have games like Forza receiving the public scores that it's receiving, and Returnal had closer public scores to review scores, they significantly deserve to be up there. And they're one of Forza 5 and Returnal are two of like 5 actual next gen games that came out. Forza's too new? No, it's not. Forza's nominated in another category. It's all subjective. Some people like things and some people don't. Why is this so hard? I'm not trying to tell you to be quiet, but this is my most politest way to say shut up to that kind of feedback. You're not saying anything, all right? Not you specifically, Fuzzy. But when I see that in chat, it just makes me want to say shut up. Shut up. We're literally debating the video game awards. You are not adding to the discussion by being like, it's all subjective. Shut up. Yeah, duh. Like, of course it's subjective. That's why we're even having the discussion. The title of the stream is predictions. Don't do that like, I'm above this discussion over here on the sidelines. I can't believe people discuss this because it's all subjective. Then just shut up. You're not adding to the conversation. You're acting like the conversation is beneath you. If it is, then don't add to it. That's the joy. The joy of the differences in humanity is to come together and to have clashes of ideas and opinions. It's all subjective. Shut up. Like, I'm so sick of seeing that. It's not thoughtful. It sounds thoughtful and it sounds charitable and generous. It's not. It's the absence of thought. It's like you're just trying to bow out of the debate or the discussion or sit on the sidelines and hurl like armchair criticism at the discussion. Like, well, it's all subjective, so I don't know why anybody gets so upset about this. Well, that's the entire point of video game awards and reviews and debates, and let's make predictions about what will win and let's say who we think should win. There's a poll at the top of the chat. Like, you're not saying anything. Did you not call aspects of Deathloop objectively bad? Yeah, I can do that. Yes. You can play a game, and when the AI is inconsistent or gets buggy or glitchy, I can say that's objectively bad. Yeah. When I fell through, right? When I fell through and I had that checkpoint crap happen to me yesterday in Halo Infinite, that's objectively bad. That's objectively bad. That's not how that's supposed to go. You can say that there are things about games that are objectively bad. Maybe we have to look at all the past winners versus the public. Yeah, God of War, a 94 to a 9.2. Exactly. I don't know. Last of Us 2 is going to be a tough one. It got review bombed. Knowingly review bombed. The AI was never consistent for me. There were lots of people that reviewed that game and talked about the inconsistency with respect to the AI. It would go from being brain dead to being godlike. Their target acquisition, their speed with which they aimed, their accuracy. I had issues with hit detection at times. You can call those things objectively bad. You can. I did not have those same experiences. Does that mean it's objectively good? No. No. If I go to a restaurant and my food comes out undercooked, my burger is raw, I'm like, this is objectively bad. You can't be like, well, I went to the restaurant. Does that make it objectively good because that didn't happen to me? No. Your experience, it's like when people are having desync and lag in Halo, and you're like, well, I'm not. That's not a refutation of the existence of the problem. You know what I'm saying? If there's a pipe in front of my house that's leaking and my water pressure goes way, way down, if you're before the leak happens, you can't be like, well, my water pressure's fine. Yeah, I know, but that's not a refutation of the problem. It exists. It's a thing. Like, do you see, like, you had zero issues with the AI and I love the combat. Basically what you're saying is that my takes are invalid, but yours are. No, I'm not saying that. I know it's easy to engage with an argument that somebody doesn't make. That's called the fallacy of the straw man. I didn't say your take was invalid. I said it's not a refutation of the existence of the problem. Somebody playing Halo and being like, I'm not getting any desync or lag, that is not a refutation of the existence of the problem. I'm not saying your take's invalid because you didn't have the problem. It's not what I'm saying. If someone says, I played this game and I fell through the map and it corrupted my save. well, I didn't have any problems. That is not a refutation of the existence of a glitch or a bug that is objectively bad and needs to be addressed, or is worthy of taking some points off in the game score. I ran into numerous issues with Deathloop and thought this should take points off. This isn't a 9 or a 10 out of game. There's sloppiness here. It feels like you're trying to invalidate mine. I don't know what that's on you. That's your own interpretation of my commentary or your own insecurity. I've not once tried to invalidate what you have said. The only thing I've tried to invalidate is giving the game 9s and 10s. It's not a 9 or a 10 game. I've played 9s and 10s games. You know what? They're very rare, and Deathloop isn't one of them. There are elements to that game that are not polished that well. I had issues with the platforming. We had issues with glitches and bugs. We had issues with guys getting stuck on stuff. No, that's not me invalidating your love for the game. I'm simply saying this game's not a 9 out of 10 or a 9 or a 10. What? No, we've said similar things about Halo Infinite. So put on another pair of shoes and let's do a different dance here. Halo Infinite getting 9s and 10s, even after my experience yesterday, I'm like, what the frick are you guys smoking? This game's a solid 8, maybe a 7.5. It's not a 9 or a 10. Goodness gracious, we went and read the reviews, and they weren't 9s and 10s, but they gave it a 9 or a 10. I would be very curious if the same disparity exists for Deathloop. And think about this, Fuzzy. It's objectively true to say Deathloop has a larger chasm between what the reviewers said and what the public is saying. We can't discount and ignore that. The only time I'm going to ignore that is when there was a concerted, measurable effort to review bomb something. All of these other games that are nominated, the reviewers and the public agree. When the reviewers are going 9s and 10s, and then the public is like, yeah, man, it's a 6 or a 7. That to me is suspect. That's suspect. Halo Infinite open world is like Far Cry? I don't think so. I've not heard anybody say that. Ratchet got an 88 from the reviewers and an 8.6 from the public. If you're giving a game 9s and 10s and the public's giving it 6s and 7s, come on. You have to see that for what it is. Take your bias out of it. As much as I defend Returnal, there is a divide between the review scores and the user scores. Why? Because they probably didn't do the greatest job in their marketing, letting people know they were buying a rogue. They probably didn't do the greatest job explaining the mechanics to people, and it lacked a save feature, which was tough for people to understand. Well, why am I supposed to play a 2-hour game that if I want to walk away from? Those are legitimate gripes from the consumer. Now, we can say there might be a little bit illegitimate or weak criticisms because you're basically critiquing a rogue for being a rogue. It's like going back to the beginning is that like go buy Dead Cells and make the same criticism. People like, you're an idiot. You bought a rogue. Of course you go back to the beginning. That's the way these games go, right? So, when two games on this list have the same thing in common, both Psychonauts 2 and Deathloop have the same thing in common. The reviewers are giving it 8s and 9s, and the public's giving it 6s and 7s. That divide is bigger for both Psychonauts and for Deathloop. And it's not that big on Returnal. Returnal's gap is smaller. You have to think about that for a second. Returnal got slammed by people because it was a rogue and they didn't expect it, and it lacked the save feature. And it still has a closer score to the reviewers than Psychonauts and Deathloop. Like, how does that not communicate that there is a feedback dissonance on games sometimes that can only be explained by one of two things. It is either nostalgia, which I think is driving a lot of the Halo stuff, or money. I think they might be being paid for those review scores, right? And with Deathloop, I think they were trying to win cultural points. Are we going to sit here and pretend that these review outlets and these gaming journalists don't play the cultural card consistently? Come on. You want to go full conspiracy? 3 Microsoft Studio games this year have review scores that don't make sense. Which ones? Oh, Halo, Psychonauts, and Deathloop? Yeah, what do they all have in common? They're Microsoft-owned property. Psychonauts 2 got slammed because people said it looked ugly and didn't play it. Maybe that's why. I highly doubt that people were going to Metacritic to review bomb Psychonauts because it was ugly. No. You could probably right now go and read reviews of Psychonauts, Metacritic, and read from people that were like, they bought the game. They bought the game. Like, I'm trying to find a review from somebody that starts off by, yeah. The fact that it has all these 10s right at the top too. Here's a 6. The level design, the platforming are pretty good. What kills it is the combat. I found it to be not from the get-go, and it progressively got more and more annoying. So that's somebody who played it. That's somebody who thought, you know, it's got good things, but this element is really frustrating. Something that should be really suspicious is how many people that voted for Psychonauts as I'm scrolling through here. There's not 7s, 8s, and 9s. It's 10, 10, 10, 10, and yet it still has a 6.9. It still has a 6.9 in light of the fact that anybody that likes the game is just giving it a 10. Here's somebody that played the game and is a fan. While mechanically this is an improvement on Psychonauts in almost every way, instead of getting rid of things that didn't work well in the original, it ports them over as well. There's good humor, and the world building is sprinkled throughout the game, but the good parts are few and far between. The story is good in the sense that it brings... So this is somebody that actually played it. I'm just scrolling through and only reading the negatives, and the negative Metacritic scores have clearly played it. They're not just like, it's ugly, too. Like, no. Now, here's some really, really low scores. Here's some 0s and 1s that pull down those 10s. It's a still fun game and deserves a good meta, but after 1 or 2 hours, it's kind of boring. So that's somebody that just gave up pretty early. You can decide whether or not you think that's fair. I put 1 simply because there is no Russian language. Okay, that's not really a fair review score then. Boring game. It's outdated. How can you make a game like this in 2021? I mean, that could be somebody that's claiming, oh, it's just ugly, but there's that word again, boring. A lot of people that are giving it a low score are giving it a boring. I can't understand how this clunky and cartoony piece of trash is getting praised by professional reviews. It's a next-gen game. Their reviews are very suspicious. This game should have been released back in 2008. So it looks like there are people, and a guy said that in another review. He said that the controls and the combat were bad and clunky, and this guy's saying the same thing. I don't see evidence that people were going to Metacritic to be like, Psychonauts is ugly. 1. The 1s and 0s are from the people with the attention span of a flea. Right, but distorted, I scrolled past about 25 people that just gave it a 10. You have to take the good and the bad, right? There are people like, yay, Psychonauts 2, 10, loved it. So it deserves the perfect score, 10 out of 10. There's no flaws in the game at all. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you can't discount the 1s and 0s because they play the game for a short amount of time, just as much as I can't discount all the 10s. Well, they're only giving it a 10 because they're a fanboy. They're not even thinking. They're just giving it a full score. They're definitely reviews from annoying young Zoomers. Sure. They're all in there. They're all in the mix. Is Metacritic really a good metric? I think so, yeah. I generally read through the Metacritic user reviews, and there are usually people who clearly played the game. And again, how are all these other games getting away with it then? How did Ratchet and Clank have a review score and a user score that was close together? How did God of War pull that off? How did Witcher 3? How did Forza? How did The Last of Us Part 2? What did The Last of Us Part 2 get? As much as that game got review bombed. Well, yeah, see, that's the one you can't use, 5.7. You can't do that. Forza and God of War and Ratchet and Clank and Resident Evil 8, they all just somehow magically have a review score and a user score that's similar. How are they pulling that off if this website's just full of drones and trolls that just downvote? We can't look at The Last of Us 2 because it was strongly review bombed. It was like a thing on Steam. It was everywhere. Well, could you even get it in Steam? I can't remember. It got review... No, you can't get it in Steam. It's a PlayStation game. It got review bombed to heck and back everywhere. People give scores to try to balance out scores they don't like, so they give a 1 or a 10. I think people vote in dichotomous ways. Threadless ran into this. People would give a t-shirt design a 5 or a 0, 5 or a 0, 5. So they view it as a thumbs up, thumbs down. They're like, thumbs up, thumbs down. So all the people putting a 10 are like, thumbs up. And all the people putting a 0 are like, thumbs down. Like, they're not viewing it as like an actual thoughtful, you know, summation of the game's parts, right? So, all right, if you're tuning in for Video Game Awards, the winners' predictions, we are going through right now, hotly debating Game of the Year. I've made my case, pretty lengthy case as to why Returnal should be up there instead of Deathloop, and I think Forza should be up there instead of Psychonauts, based on multiple categories. One of the more important ones being both Psychonauts 2 and Deathloop have this very strange giant chasm between the high scores from the reviewers and the critics, and then low scores from the users. So I think with a large enough number of votes, the noise cancels out and you get an approximation of public sentiment. Right. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. All right, next category. Best Game Direction. Here is another reason why Returnal should have a Game of the Year nomination. You're telling me it gets Best Direction alongside... Wow, all 4 of these are from the Game of the Year category. This, to me, is a gross indictment of your scoring system. Geoff, like, come on. You can't tell me that Returnal is at the level of Game Direction with 4 other Game of the Year nominations, but it doesn't get a Game of the Year nomination. This simply doesn't make sense. Why isn't Resident Evil up here anyway? I don't understand. Why did you drop Metro? I understand dropping Metroid Dread. I do. I don't think there's anything phenomenal about the Game Direction, but why does Resident Evil get chopped? It actually had really great direction. Best Game Direction is the second best award. Yeah. So, obviously, based on everything I said in my rant and my establishment of what makes for Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, in my mind, is very similar to Game of the Year. It's awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Innovation goes to Returnal, hands down. If not Returnal, then innovation would go to It Takes Two. To me, these two are the front runners with respect to creative vision and innovation. Now, Ratchet and Clank, you would think I would pick Ratchet and Clank here, okay, for creative vision and innovation. The reason I'm not is the creative vision is largely borrowing from the established franchise. The look of the game, the feel of the game is largely driven by the established franchise, so it's difficult for me to give them a lot of points there. I do give Ratchet and Clank tons of points for their innovation in game direction and design, because it's beautiful, right? It's absolutely beautiful, but I believe that the innovation and the creative vision for It Takes Two and Returnal are better. I think that they were more ambitious and more fresh and something that we hadn't seen before, and therefore these two are my front runners. I'm voting for Returnal. Deathloop, no, I just don't think so. I don't think so. I do think that Deathloop stands to potentially steal this one from Returnal based purely on the review scores that it did not deserve. It just the public agrees with me on this. I'm going to side with the public and say Deathloop is a solid 7 to 8 game, and Returnal is like a solid 8.5 to a 9 game, and meaning that it outshines Deathloop from where I sit. But based on review scores, Deathloop could snake this one purely because the idea of having rogue elements in your storytelling was actually very creative. I do give them full marks for that. I do think their art style and their music and everything else, I think was very, very well done. So it may actually steal this one from Returnal. Best narrative. Now this is where it's going to be tough. I think these are all excellent narratives, okay? So I can remove my bias and say that Deathloop's narrative is actually extremely cool and very, very creative, right? Very, very creative. Very well done. Same thing for It Takes Two. Excellent, excellent narrative. I cannot comment on Life is Strange True Colors, but its story was highly praised and very, very much applauded. And in Guardians, I think, may take it for one simple reason. Guardians of the Galaxy surprised everybody with its story and how enjoyable and funny it was, and they had a significant challenge to overcome. Number one, there's an existing Guardians of the Galaxy cast that people envision in their mind. Number two, Marvel has a horrible track record right now because of Avengers in the realm of video games. So Guardians of the Galaxy, in my mind, will probably take this purely because of everything it had to come over, right? Everything it had to overcome. My prediction is that Guardians will steal this, mainly because of its notoriety. It's a very well-known, intellectual piece of property, and it had a lot more to overcome. Now, Psychonauts 2 is likely the front runner here. Psychonauts 2, its way of storytelling, the emphasis on mental health, that is one of the more praised elements of Psychonauts 2. So this is a very, very tough category. All of the storytelling is excellent. As much as I didn't like Deathloop, the storytelling was very, very, very cool and extremely creative. If you're just tuning in, we're going through Video Game Awards winners predictions. So this one's tough for me to predict. This one's tough. Which one would I pick? It's a little unfair because the only game I played to completion was It Takes Two. So I would pick It Takes Two because it's not fair for me to pick a game I didn't finish, right? It's not fair for me to pick a game I didn't finish, all right? So I would vote for It Takes Two. My prediction is that Guardians is going to surprise everybody and it's going to win. That's my prediction. So this is an incredibly challenging category. I won't be mad at anybody who wins this category. I would say deserves it. Honestly, I wouldn't have any issue with any of these titles walking away with the trophy. I think they all did an excellent job within the confines, context, and genre that they set out to do. If you guys are enjoying the show, somebody with a $2 tip, Ray, says Deathloop was cannibalized from Prey DLC. It's not an OG game. Oh, right, the Prey Moon thing. Yeah, they did borrow a lot from that. Yeah, that is true. I'm not going to hold that against them, though. I'm not going to hold that against them. I think they executed very, very well on the method of storytelling. But if you guys are enjoying the stream today, it is totally free to hit subscribe. It's free to hit the like button. That helps me out. That helps out my channel. We will be co-streaming the Video Game Awards this evening, so make sure you have your bell button checked. I am a safe for work broadcaster. I stream Monday through Friday. A lot of people throw me on in the background like Video Game Radio because I'll help you get through your work day. A lot of worker lurkers here. And you don't have to worry about the language that I'm going to be using if you throw me on in the background. Lurker but first-time commenter. I know we are riffing on the Game Awards, but here's my take. This is just a blank contest. How about celebrating the best aspect of the best games this year? Doesn't make good awards, but it's made for a good conversation. All of those games did amazing things. I think once you get out of the Game of the Year category expiry, I think you do get to have good conversations about storytelling as we just did. So I think you can get what you want out of the Game Awards. You just have to ignore the Game of the Year, debate and fire, because all these other categories celebrate good game design, narrative, audio and everything else. Best art direction, we have The Artful Escape, we have Deathloop, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This one is a very, very challenging category. I don't think Psychonauts 2 has a chance because I know they are staying true to their genre, but I do not think the art direction will get the same praise that Kena Bridge of Spirits or Ratchet and Clank showed. Mainly because I don't think Psychonauts 2 necessarily contextualized their style to the present day. So I actually think Kena might be the surprise winner here. Now, the art direction in Deathloop is spectacular. I don't know enough about the Artful Escape. From what I saw, the Artful Escape is very, very cool looking, though. It is very, very cool. I think Kena is the surprise win here. Very, very small studio that I think will sweep this. Will steal this, I'm sorry. For outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. This is why Ratchet may take this category, because the technical achievement within their art design and animation, Ratchet and Clank did things we've never seen before. So this is why I think Ratchet stands to probably win this one. If not, it's going to Kena. And I'm going to vote for Kena because I think it was a beautiful game. Even though I had frustrations with the parry window, which they addressed, I still think it was a beautiful game. It was like playing a Pixar movie. So Ratchet and Clank was also like playing a Pixar movie. The technical aspect, though, I don't know. The technical achievement in artistic design and animation makes it really hard to beat Ratchet with the way that they handled the speed and the portals and the cutscene from playing to cutscene to back to playing, the seamlessness, the zero load time. That is a technical achievement within art design, right? You think the issue you had with Kena resolved your input? Well, it probably resolved that shore creature, but there was also laden within that game an issue with the parry window that they patched. So I think we had two problems compounding on each other. I had inconsistent input delay that would just randomly happen. We found that out in Sekiro and we fixed it. We also had baked into Kena an issue with the parry window that they have patched. So I think Ratchet wins this one. It's by far the best looking game so far. Not my cup of tea as a game, but visually it's astonishing. Yeah. I feel like Returnal should be in that category too. It's difficult to see the Artful Escape up here having not played it. I do think art direction in Returnal was phenomenal. The different biomes, the weapons, the enemies, how they took bullet hell and put it in a third-person, three-dimensional space was absolutely brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant and stunning. So I do think Returnal deserves to be up here. I agree with that. It is odd to give it best direction but not art direction, given the stylization and the biomes and how they show the bullet hell on screen and stuff. There is something, and the particles dispersing and stuff. Yeah, and the glows, the lighting. Returnal deserves to be up here. I am very confused as to why Deathloop and Psychonauts have been just given so much automatic love and treatment, given that I don't think either of them achieved technical achievements of art design and animation. The art design and the art direction for Deathloop was great, but I don't know if it was a technical achievement, right? So, I don't know. I don't see how Returnal's not up here. I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know. It seems like it's getting a lot of the shaft here, undeservedly so. Next category. We're in category 4 here. Did I not click it? What's going on here? Can I go to previous? Okay. Next. View the categories. Best score in music. So the next category button's just being kind of wonky. Best score in music. I'm not going to have a ton of input here. The Artful Escape, Cyberpunk, Deathloop, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and Nier Replicant. My prediction is that Guardians will crush this because it's unfair. Outstanding music, inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. I think Guardians is going to unfairly win this one. I don't think it necessarily deserves to win because so much of its music is not original. It's just well used, right? Now, I know the music in Nier is incredible, okay? So I would probably vote for Nier just because I know what those scores are like, but I bet you Guardians wins, and I could probably argue that Guardians doesn't deserve to win. Like, using a bunch of nostalgic old-time tune, old classic rock songs and stuff, it just seems very, very unfair to win based off of that. Not original, it's not even outstanding music. So it can't be outstanding. It can't be original, okay? Because these are just great songs from the past. So it's inclusive of score, sure. It's licensed soundtrack. I don't know what that means. So my prediction is that Guardians wins this one. That's my prediction. I don't even know. It's hard to be a composer for a game like Cyberpunk and to make great music and for the game to go through what it went through. So I'm going to vote for Nier just because I know that they make excellent music in those games, and I don't think it's fair for Guardians to win off of a soundtrack that they didn't really write. Best audio design. Deathloop, Forza Horizon 5, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Resident Evil Village, and Returnal. You know where I'm going here. Returnal's audio design is unparalleled in its use of the speaker on the controller, the haptic feedback being tied to a lot of the very, very cool sound, even the rain in some of the different biomes. The use of sound also really, really adds to the intensity and the tracking of the enemies. I cannot overstate how absolutely wonderful Returnal's sound design is. I do think that the sound design in Resident Evil Village is very, very close, if not equal to how good Returnal's sound design is. So it's probably, in my mind, between these two. Ratchet is also very, very brilliant and amazing with sound design, audio design. We cannot understate how good Forza Horizon 5's audio is with respect to capturing the real-world sounds of cars and the immersion nature of that sound. Some of that, I don't know if there's a basic ceiling, though, on just how good that stuff could sound. So, Deathloop, I don't think had good game audio and sound design. I don't know why it's here. Again, I'm so confused as to why Deathloop's just getting like a free pass onto every category. Again, I think we are unfortunately dealing with something a little suspicious here. I don't think that there was anything particularly outstanding about the audio design in Deathloop. These four here, Forza, Ratchet, Resident Evil, and Returnal, all have done things and do things that are noticeably really impressive and ambitious. But I don't think that there was nothing in Deathloop that stood out to me. I really don't. Yeah, Outriders, right? So I'm going to vote for Returnal, and I am going to predict that Returnal wins this category. I do. If it doesn't go to Returnal, it's between Resident Evil and Ratchet. It's between Resident Evil and Ratchet. I think Returnal takes this. I think it deserves this category. I think it crushes Deathloop sound design, no question. But I think it stands apart from the others. Best performance. Erica Mori as Alex Chen in Life is Strange, Giancarlo Esposito as Anton Castillo in Far Cry 6, Jason Kelly as Colt Vaughn in Deathloop, Maggie Robertson as Lady Dimitrescu, I can never say that name, in Resident Evil Village, and then Ozioma Akaga as Juliana Blake in Deathloop. I think it's a tie between Oziama and Jason Kelly. I think it's a tie between them. I think Jason Kelly takes this. I didn't like Deathloop, but this man is a very, very good voice actor. He brought a character to life that we can't see. Colt Vaughn. You never see Colt. I never saw any cutscenes with Colt Vaughn, and he brought the character to life in an absolutely brilliant way. This guy deserves the award, no question. Giancarlo may take it because of he's recognizable, and he did a very, very good job with Anton Castillo. Giancarlo may run away with this simply because he is brilliant, he's incredibly talented, and he has that recognition. Everybody knows who he is, but I think it goes to Jason Kelly. I really, really do. Now, There's another person up here that will likely steal this, and it may be Maggie Robertson, because Lady Dimitrescu, Lady D, it was a meme and a beloved character before anybody even played the game. Right? Now, she was beloved for probably all the wrong reasons, right? Objectified because of her giant, body and shapeliness. Obviously, I think that is obviously a trend in video games that is, we can argue whether or not that's healthy or not, but the popularity of Lady D, I'm sad to say, is just rooted in so much objectification and even hypocrisy within women in the gaming world. Rallying against and saying how it's horrible to objectify women, and then women in the gaming world objectified Lady D almost as much as men did. I found the whole thing to be unfortunate, because it was like, that's all anybody talked about or focused on, and if she wins, unfortunately, I think some of that is going to be playing a part in her winning. It should be about the vocal performance, not the fact that her character was, a fantasy character for so many people that wanted her to step on them. I think Jason Kelly brought a character to life in an incredibly challenging, and it was very challenging to do what he did. He had to do something that none of these other characters had to do. He had to bring a character to life that you could not see, and it was a character that you were playing as. And I thought he did an absolutely phenomenal job, right? He did a phenomenal job. You don't see how she was objectified? You've obviously never YouTubed any of the mods, videos, or memes about her. I don't see how you could say that she was not objectified. What's wrong with the human body? Nothing. Putting words in my mouth is a very short road to getting anywhere in an argument. Games for impact. This is a tough category because I've not played any of these. I played Boyfriend Dungeon. I don't know why that's up here. This is for thought-provoking games with a pro-social meaning or message. So the idea here is that they're having a pro-social or important message, right? Jason Kelly actually had to act against himself a few times in Deathloop. He did a fantastic job. Oh, that's right. You do get to see him. I forgot about that. Yeah. That is true. Okay. Still, that happens pretty late in the game. He has to do all the legwork in the beginning. I thought he did an excellent job. That is right, though. You do get to see him eventually. That's true. And that's a very challenging thing. Like, Nicolas Cage in Adaptation has to play twin brothers, and he does an incredible job. Before Your Eyes, Boyfriend Dungeon, Chicory, A Colorful Tale, Life is Strange, True Colors, No Longer Home. I'm going to tell you right now, my prediction and vote would probably just go Life is Strange. I know that these games are incredibly important to people, and they've done a very, very excellent job. There's no doubt in my mind that Life is Strange probably takes this one. Boyfriend Dungeon being nominated is sort of strange. It is sort of strange to me. But yeah. All of my recommended for Resident Evil when it dropped were people reacting to Lady D. Right, yeah. Okay, next category. Best ongoing game. We have Apex Legends, Final Fantasy 14 Online, Fortnite, Genshin Impact, what the frick? Call of Duty Warzone. This is an easy one. I think Final Fantasy steals this no problem. I don't think anybody else stands a chance. Fortnite's been up here numerous times. Apex is doing good things, but I think Final Fantasy is the undeniable winner in this category. Endwalker just happened. There's just no way. There is literally no way Final Fantasy doesn't win this category. Anybody else in this category has to know they're not winning. There's just no way. There is absolutely no way. I've never even touched the game, and I know this to be true. Genshin is a great game despite the gacha. Yeah, I know. I know there's good things there, right? There is, sure. But, All right, this is an easy one. I think this category, if you're Call of Duty Warzone, you're Genshin Impact, Fortnite, or Apex Legends, you have to know you're not walking away with awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. That last statement makes it really, really tough for Warzone, Apex, or Fortnite to win. They have evolved what the player experiences, but not to the degree that Final Fantasy has. So, if Genshin wins, that'll be such an absolute insult to everything that Final Fantasy has done. Best Indie, 12 minutes. There's no way 12 minutes wins this. It had a lot of criticism and a lot of complaint. Death's Door, Inscription, Kena Bridge of Spirits, and Loop Hero. I give it to Death's Door because of the undeniable commercial success that it had in its opening week. Kena Bridge of Spirits will likely take this, though. They might not give it to Kena because I think Kena's in another category, like Best Debut. I think Death's Door deserves it because it's not. I don't think it's in any other categories, and it's just phenomenal. Outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. Now, the creative and technical achievement is likely why Kena will win this. Kena will win this because of the creative and technical achievement. It is a small studio that built a game with like action-adventure Souls-like combat. I've not played Inscription or Loop Hero or 12 minutes, so I can't really comment. I'm going to vote for Death's Door because I played it and their commercial success is worthy of note and praise. 100,000 sales in the first week or whatever. Would love to see you play Inscription. I've had people tell me they want to see me play Inscription. Yeah. My prediction is that Kena wins this. I think Kena wins this category, no doubt. There's not a doubt in my mind that Kena doesn't walk away with this one here. It's the front runner in my book. I would love to see Death's Door win it. I would love to see Death's Door win it. I don't know if Death's Door is in any other categories. Let's see. How far are we in? We're an hour and a half in. And let's see here. Best mobile game. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back while this one's up on the screen. I am sorry, chat. I've doubled my water intake in the morning. So I have this giant water bottle, and I've been drinking 2 of these in the morning, and boy oh boy, I can't get as far in the stream without a break. I feel way better, like just drinking more water in the morning. It's made me feel significantly better, but my goodness, it's like I'm dancing in my seat here. Okay, so best mobile game presented by Verizon. Fantasian, Genshin Impact, League of Legends Wild Rift, Marvel Future Revolution, and Pokemon Unite. This will probably go to Pokemon Unite. Or Genshin, I don't know. You had lemon ears. Oh yeah, lemon's really good. I used to do that when I worked in the mall. I would go get a big, huge water from Panera and like put a bunch of lemon in it. Yeah, this is probably between, I don't know. Marvel Future Revolution has got a lot of praise. This is a tough category because League of Legends, I mean, anything by Riot is going to get a lot of pull. This one's tough. I don't know. I have no idea which one I would pick. I've played Pokemon Unite and I've played Marvel Future Revolution. This is a tough, very, very competitive category to be in because mobile games are absolutely massive. They are so huge. And, yeah, I don't know. This is an incredibly tough category. The only thing the reason that I think it's probably between Marvel and Pokemon is just the brand recognition of those two brands is so big. So big. Yeah. This one's tough. I'm gonna go for Pokemon. I'm gonna vote for Pokemon and predict Pokemon here for a couple of reasons. I think the Pokemon phenomenon and popularity in the mobile environment is just very, very, praised, and it says the best game playable on a mobile device. This is game of the year for mobile is what this is. Yeah, the second show today, Zubair, will be my first impressions of the Halo Infinite campaign, and then I'm going to dive back in and play more. Yes. I think Pokemon's global recognition and fandom combined in the mobile environment is likely going to give it a very good chance to win this category. But man, Marvel, League, and Genshin, I don't know. This is a tough category to call. I have no idea. I don't know. Genshin is massively popular, and Marvel is massively recognized. Pokemon just has global. I feel like Pokemon has global pull that lends itself well to a mobile marketplace. Best community support: Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, No Man's Sky. This is between Final Fantasy and No Man's Sky in my book. Destiny 2, no, absolutely not. I don't know why they would even... Why would you give them community support awards for transparency and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity? The Bungie CMs, I think, are some of the most embarrassing social activity CMs I've ever seen. This is between Final Fantasy and No Man's Sky in my book. I like... What they've done, what Final Fantasy has done, and what Hello Games has done is undeniably in another category than all these other games listed here. Yeah, I don't know. I would think that Destiny's the most toxic. Yeah, that community and its community leaders and community managers, I think they're all toxic. I think they're terrible. I was told privately that one of their CMs is in a Discord where they actively blacklist people. Like, it's called, like, the good guys or something. Like, that's just, what the frick? No. That is so unethical and nasty, and, like... That's scary. That's like cult-like hubris, self-righteous levels of insanity. Like, we're going to get a little group together and blacklist people. Uh-huh. Sure. Do they have an award for that? So I would say it's between Final Fantasy and No Man's Sky. I don't know. It's between Final Fantasy and No Man's Sky. I'm going to vote for No Man's Sky, but I bet Final Fantasy wins this. I bet Final Fantasy wins this. Yeah. Public community is bad. Yeah, the Destiny community isn't the problem. It's they're saying here community support, transparency, responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates and patches. Like, Final Fantasy and No Man's Sky have way better game updates and patches than Destiny. Social media activity, I don't really know. I don't follow those communities, but the Bungie public social media activity, I think, is abysmal and gross. And I think they are the worst forms of toxic positivity, and the fact that one of their CMs is in a Discord where they blacklist people, the fact that they had 2 public employees make false statements about me, no, absolutely not. They don't deserve the award. If they win the award, I will have no problem being outspoken about the fact that they don't deserve it for measurable things that they've done in the public. Innovation in accessibility, presented by Chevrolet. So this is recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience. I don't know what these games have done, so this is hard. I don't know what to pick here. So what features and technology were added to these games to help it be accessible to a wider audience with respect to like colorblind modes and motor impaired individuals? I don't know. I'll just stay down in the corner. The Veil, Shadow of the Crown, I've never even heard of that. And then Ratchet and Clank, Marvel's, Guardians of the Galaxy, Forza, and Far Cry. They still managed to win it last year despite all that. It can happen again. Yeah, but last year the narrative was very different. It was like, yeah, they stood up for women. And in my mind, February of this year made it very clear that Bungie does not deserve an award like that. You had somebody publicly state that their corporate attorneys got involved in what happened with me, and one of the lawyers that represent them false copyright struck a video. That's not a community worthy of award. The narrative I hope I've helped change the narrative on that company. And Deej left too, so I don't know. They have controllers specially for disabled. Okay, so Forza has an auto mode. Okay. Probably Forza since it has DLSS and RT. Oh, hang on. No. DLSS and ray tracing has nothing to do with this category, Mr. 7 Digit. What accessibility features does Ratchet and Clank have? Yeah, accessibility features are in the lane of accessibility would be colorblind modes or control options that are built for someone who has to use that Microsoft controller. Maybe there's somebody who is motor function impaired, right? They're in a wheelchair and they have a hard time moving their hands and fingers. So they need that special controller to play video games. So that would be innovation in accessibility. We're not talking about graphical technologies. Ratchet did so much, the list is nuts. It's probably between Forza and Ratchet. I'm going to vote for Ratchet because I love Ratchet, but my prediction is it'll probably be Forza or Ratchet. I don't know enough to make a very educated guess here. So my slightly educated guess at this moment is it's between Forza and Ratchet. I don't know enough about the other games to comment on accessibility. Best VR or AR, augmented reality or virtual reality, irrespective of platform. So we have Hitman 3, I Expect You to Die 2, Lone Echo 2, Resident Evil 4, Sniper Elite VR. I have no idea who's going to win this one. I heard very good things about Resident Evil 4. Hitman 3 has the brand recognition as well. I don't know. It'll probably go to Resident Evil 4. Somebody's saying Lone Echo 2. Again, I don't know enough to vote here. Or guess. I just don't know enough. I'll just vote for Resident Evil 4 and say that I think that one will win. And that's based purely off of just things that I heard. NFTs, the next frontier of music. Ooh. Oh my word, that felt good. Next category. Best action game. Now this is where it gets interesting because now the category gets kind of broad. So this is not action adventure, this is action game. For the best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat. Back 4 Blood, I don't see winning. There were lots of criticisms about the combat and the difficulty, and they're still working on it. So the devs, I think, have owned and admitted that it's not where they want it. So that means I don't think it can win. when the developers themselves are admitting that it needs polish. Chivalry 2, I don't know enough, but I've heard good things. Deathloop, absolutely not. Why is Deathloop on here? Its combat is not good. It's sloppy and loose, and the AI is inconsistent. It drives me crazy to see Deathloop up here so many times. It was not that good of a game. It was not award-worthy in this regard. Far Cry 6, there's no way it wins. It was just more Far Cry. I know they did new weapons and stuff, and you had a crocodile and like a rooster or whatever. There's no way. No way. They're primarily focusing on combat. Returnal wins this, without a shadow of doubt in my mind, unless Chivalry 2 is in some insanely awesome category of combat. Returnal's combat is just, it's ambitious, it's fresh, it's new. I can experience this combat in these games in other games. Right? In your opinion? I love how insecure people are about video games. Yes, in my opinion. I'm going to get a speech bubble to hang from the ceiling that just says asterisk in Lono's opinion. Yeah, that's what happens when a person speaks about something like this. In your opinion. I love Deathloop. In your opinion. The freaking tropes that we get into. That's what we're talking about. Deathloop is Dishonored combat from 10 years ago. That's what I'm saying. You can experience the Far Cry 6 combat, the Deathloop combat, the Back 4 Blood combat in other games. You likely could experience the Chivalry 2 combat in other games. You cannot experience the combat in Returnal anywhere but Returnal. You can't. Why you hate Deathloop so much? Because I don't think it's a very good game. I think it's been overpraised. It feels like you're being unfair. I think Arcane games are overpraised. I don't think their combat is as good as everybody says it is. I don't. I've played Dishonored 1. I've played Dishonored 2. Their AI detection's inconsistent and cheap. The combat is sloppy. The first-person controls are loose, similar to BioShock first-person controls being sort of loose. It doesn't feel tight. It doesn't feel crisp. It feels sloppy. I think all the Arcane games feel the same. Deathloop is a brainless shooter. AI is bad. No, I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's a brainless shooter. There's a lot that goes into the combat. There's a lot of thought and abilities and planning that goes into the combat. I don't agree with that. No, it's not a brainless shooter. The underlying mechanics of how you survive and get through Deathloop is not, I would not describe it as brainless. I don't think that's fair. A Call of Duty campaign or even Far Cry would be a little bit more brainless than Deathloop. Deathloop does have thought in it. Prey is a far superior game to Deathloop. Yeah, Prey's first-person controls were far better. Just stating the obvious, no need to get snippy. It just gets tiresome, Indie. I love your name, by the way. Individual. It just gets tiresome to, like, every time I go on a rant, somebody has to be like, in your opinion. It's like, I suppose we could have Nightbot just periodically say that on a timer so that you don't feel the need to. Game of the year is the Scalping game, a game where you pay almost twice for the price of a PS5. Someone suggested that if it was a tough shooter, you'd get fed up of the loop. The secret of the game is knowing what's coming and trying new pathways. I didn't like Dishonored at all, but Deathloop felt great. I'm having a lot of fun at the end game now. I have tons of cool items and abilities. It's been really exciting and challenging. I know you weren't attacking Indy. I was expressing annoyance. I didn't feel like I had been attacked. Like, I didn't get defensive. I would have gotten defensive if I felt like you were, like, attacking me. I was more annoyed than anything. Maybe you weren't here earlier. Earlier someone was just, this is all subjective. What's the point in discussing this? I'm like, what? Like, we're having a good time. So, what was I saying? Dylan, I have heard that the back half of Deathloop is when the combat becomes far more enjoyable. I'm not going to discount that and act like that's not true, but the front half of the combat I found to be sloppy, inconsistent, and annoying. It didn't translate into a very fun experience. And I had people in the chat that were fans of the game that were like, yes, it is sort of like this in the beginning. You have to get further. The combat in Returnal is amazing and satisfying from moment one. The first time I shoot an enemy, I'm like, this feels great. There's nothing sloppy or throwaway about Returnal's combat. Yeah, that was Fuzzy. Love you, Fuzzy. Much as I love Deathloop, I agree with Lono. Returnal deserves this category. I think Returnal deserves this category for one simple reason. It's a new type of combat, and the rest of these games don't offer that. It's more ambitious and revolutionary. The beginning is flat, the end game is where it picks up, that's fair. And that is probably why I fell off the rails with it. I was like, I don't want to put up with the early game. You're calling it flat. I would call it like early game just slop. It just didn't feel refined or polished. I don't know why. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like I was playing like a refined AAA game. It felt kind of indie. I don't know. I almost stopped playing, I will admit, but after I got past that point, it was excellent. I think like Returnal, you should push through a little bit. Well, unfortunately, homie, I've wanted to go back and do another run through Returnal, and I just don't have time, so I certainly don't have time to do that with Deathloop. Best action adventure. This is an incredibly challenging category. Given the reviews I read on Metacritic about Psychonauts 2, I can't see it winning. A good portion of the community said they found the combat and the game to be boring, and I have had people that have beaten it that have said that is one of the weaker elements of Psychonauts, is the combat and like the movement and stuff. It's just it's not as good or as polished as they would want it to be. Now, this is for combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. The traversal and the puzzle solving in Resident Evil, I don't think it wins here. And the combat in Resident Evil, I don't think it wins here. No. I would say this is going to go to Ratchet is the front runner, because I believe the traversal in Ratchet is unparalleled because of the speed of some of the stuff that you can hop on and the rifts. I think the rifts and the speed and all that. I think Ratchet, yeah. I think Ratchet did things that these other games didn't do. I don't know about Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy. I found the combat and the traversal in it to be one of the actual sort of weaker points of the game. It wasn't bad, but it certainly wasn't spectacular. The Ratchet combat and traversal is just unparalleled. I don't think anybody, if this is what they're basing it off of. Now, puzzle solving, the puzzle solving in Ratchet was never that complex, so I don't know how they're going to judge that. But, yeah, this category goes to Ratchet in my mind. This is again in a category where Ratchet was ambitious and pioneered things that haven't been done before, and that's why it deserves to win. Ratchet and Clank's not a new IP. How does it hold so much weight? The new Ratchet and Clank is not light years ahead of any other Ratchet and Clank game. That just sounds like somebody who hasn't played it. The seamlessness with load time, traversal, the rifts within the world that like you can just walk through and you're in a totally completely different world. The seamlessness between the Pixar level cutscenes and the combat, the actual scope and size of some of the combat with respect to the boss fights, saturation of enemies, the fact that they gave you iframes, the depth of the combat with respect to all of the different weapon types. I can't imagine being like, oh no, this is just like another Ratchet game. No. You're talking about new IPs, though? No, I'm not. Not right now, I'm not. You might have just tuned in. I don't know what you've been listening to, Paul. We're talking about best action adventure games. We have no new IPs up on the board. Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess, but its combat wasn't new. It was very much pulling from other games. The only actual new IP up here is Guardians of the Galaxy, and I didn't think that its combat and traversal was very good. I found it to be a little clumsy. I wasn't talking about new IPs. In a tangent subject, you still think Sony is going to release more games on Steam in the near future? Because I really wanted to play Returnal. I don't think they are. I know they are, homie. It's been confirmed. They have a Sony storefront in Steam, and it's been confirmed that there are games coming to PC. Yes, we haven't heard anything about Returnal, but Returnal can come to PC because they can do the haptic feedback. They added the haptic feedback to another game recently. Yeah, and I've never said existing franchises can't be award-winning. I have said in the Game of the Year category, I give more points to a brand's new IP because it is so significantly harder to get that notoriety and that prestige as a brand's new IP. Game of the Year. Like, I give more points to a new IP in that particular category. In this category and others, it's more about the merits of the game's design than being a new IP. So, combat and traversal and puzzle solving, I think Ratchet is the clear frontrunner here. Yeah, Metroid's controls were very, very rough. Exactly. It's hard to give anything to Metroid because it was super creative, but combat and traversal was irritating because the controls were not polished. They were sloppy. Yeah, God of War is coming to PC in January, as an example. January 13th. Best role-playing game. Now, try not to laugh. Cyberpunk 2077 is up here. We need to concede that Cyberpunk has actually a very, very good review standing on PC in Steam, and it got very, very hurt on the old consoles. Monster Hunter Rise, Scarlet Nexus, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Tales of Arise. I don't think Cyberpunk can win this. Heard rumors about Returnal coming to PC? It could certainly come to PC. I think the three frontrunners here are Scarlet Nexus, Tales of Arise, and Monster Hunter Rise. I think are your three frontrunners. Shin Megami Tensei I can't comment on, so it could be just as good. Those are the three that I think are going to be the frontrunners here. I can't see Game Awards giving it to Cyberpunk because of the ridicule and the anger that they would get for it. A lot of people would very much be like, "You've got to be kidding me," right? You know what I mean? How's the best RPG when its lack of RPG elements is the main criticism outside performance issues? I think Scarlet Nexus was one of the most approachable JRPGs I'd ever played. I really, really like Scarlet Nexus. I'm going to vote for Scarlet Nexus purely because I played it and was very, very impressed with how accessible they made their game. I'm not big in JRPGs, and I thought it was very, very cool. Yeah, the combat, the soundtrack, and the visuals, yes, yes, yes. SMT5 probably isn't going to PS5. Yeah, Tales of Arise and Monster Hunter Rise might pull this one, though. Wheezy's saying that Shin Megami Tensei 5 is phenomenal. So, yeah, I don't have enough to choose a winner or predict a winner. I'm just going to vote for the one that I played because I really, really liked it. So, I thought they did a great job making a JRPG very accessible and palatable to like a non-JRPG player. If you're tuning in for the Video Game Awards winners predictions, that's what we're coming over right now. Shin Megami Tensei on Metacritic got an 85, and then the users gave it a 7.7. Now, Tales of Arise got an 87, and then it got an 87 from the community. And I said Tales of Arise might be one of the frontrunners, so that's kind of adding to the dialogue here. Tales of Arise does not have a gap between the official reviews and the community. I'm interested if you can you, Paul, can you grab me Scarlet and Monster? I don't care about Cyberpunk. Cool thing about Scarlet Nexus is that it threw away the angsty protagonist tropes. You played that one, was going to get on sale, should have watched your gameplay. It's on my other channel. I think when I played Scarlet Nexus, we did that on Presents. I don't think we did it over here. So you could go watch that, first hour and a half or 2 hours, I think. Okay, so Scarlet Nexus got an 80 from the reviewers and a 7.7 from the community. So right now, if we base it purely off of the Metacritic scores being close between users and reviewers, Monster Hunter Rise would win. It got the highest from the reviewers, an 88, and then a 9 from the users. So Monster Hunter Rise and Tales of Arise are like your two frontrunners with regard to official reviews and the public. Shin Megami Tensei did get an 85, but the users didn't score it as high. The users gave it a 7.7. Shin Megami Tensei has the bigger gap between the reviews and the users. So I wouldn't be surprised if Monster Hunter Rise takes this then, because it's a very recognizable brand, and it got insanely good praise on the Switch, and we all know the Switch saturation in the market is very good. So that's a lot of freaking people, probably. How many views or reviews is that? Well, it's only 679. Well, it has the most user ratings. Yeah, 679. So it has the most out of the group. It's in my if we base it purely off of Metacritic, Monster Hunter Rise is the front runner, Tales of Arise is second, and followed up by Scarlet Nexus. If we base it purely off of Metacritic scores. Best fighting game, I have no input here. Demon Slayer, I thought looked cool. Guilty Gear, Melty Blood, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, and Virtua Fighter 5. I have this weird sneaking suspicion that Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is going to win. It's just a weird feeling. I don't know. There's no way to know. For me, there's no way to know. People in chat are saying Guilty Gear Strive. Okay, so chat is saying Guilty Gear. Let's look at the Game of the Year poll. 403 votes, Ratchet and Clank running away with it. Psychonauts 2 in last place out of the 4 we chose. Guilty Gear Strive is nuts. Is that the cheese guy? Yeah, that's cheesy guy, SpongeBob. Yeah. So, chat, a lot of people in chat are saying Guilty Gear Strive. I'm just going to go with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, mainly because of recognizable, big, well-known brand. Brawl games are super popular, so, yeah. Wait. Personally, let's do point the arrows fixing one appropriate below. Please find what happened. Guilty Gear Strive is one of the few fighters that's casual friendly while still respecting hardcore fighting game players. Okay. What does popularity have to do with your choice? Because that affects the votes, Doomslayer. Like a very big, popular, well-known game gets an advantage. So my prediction, so when I'm predicting that, I'm not saying that means it deserves to win. I'm saying that gives it a strong chance to win. Does that make sense? By January into February, is going to be playing Monster Hunter Rise on Steam. I wish I could get into Monster Hunter games because I think it fits into our niche down, Wheezy, but I just can't get into them. I don't know. Maybe my mind will change since I've gotten into like From Software games and MMOs. Maybe there's an inroad for me to enjoy them, but like, I don't know. I just, if they had a health bar, I'd play. I'm not kidding. I think if they had a health bar, I'd play. I can't stand not seeing the health bar. It drives me friggin' crazy. How not Guilty Gear? I'm not a fighting game guy, so I just picked the one that I recognized. So I said before I voted and made my prediction that I don't have any information to pick. Everybody in chat was saying Guilty Gear will be the winner here. So your confusion is not misplaced. I don't have any clue about these games. I'm not a fighting game guy. The lack of a health bar is weird to me too. It just creates this weird fog of unknown. There's something about seeing the health bar go down in Dark Souls and Sekiro and all that. Like, I don't know. It creates something that I like. You could use mods on PC to see their health? Really? I'm telling you, I think I could get into Monhunt if I saw a freaking health bar. I'll be playing it, so if you want to try it, I'll literally be around. We'll see, Wheeze. It could fit into our niche down. Depends on what New World's doing. Best Family game. It Takes Two, Mario Party Superstars, New Pokemon Snap, Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, WarioWare Get It Together. It Takes Two deserves this without a shred of doubt in my mind. It Takes Two is the winner here. Number 1, Mario Party Superstars was merely a rehashing of old boards and games, which it's phenomenal, fun, and great, but it's just another Mario Party. New Pokemon Snap. It's just another Pokemon Snap. Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury is really, really good. It is really, really fun. But it's not as good as It Takes Two. And WarioWare Get It Together, whatever. I think It Takes Two deserves this. Big time. Visual damage equals superior health bar. Or an inferior health bar, because I don't know what in the frick's going on. Mario will win with Bowser. Yeah, Super Mario 3D World with Bowser might win this, purely because it's frickin' Mario, and that game was awesome. Yeah, the Mario Bowser's game was so awesome. But I'm going to give it to It Takes Two. My prediction is that Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury will likely win. I think It Takes Two deserves to win, personally. I think It Takes Two deserves it, and I'm voting for it, but my prediction is Bowser's Fury will take this. It's too recognizable as a brand, and it was actually a very, very good game. It was very cool, super creative. The graphics were phenomenal. It was a very, very good Mario game. I think family games as a game kids can play. I don't think kids would be able to play It Takes Two. Do you think they'd be able to play 3D World Bowser's Fury? My kids couldn't play 3D World Bowser's Fury. It's friggin' hard. A divorce story isn't very family friendly. Well, family is about the genre. You know, a game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. I don't know. I think the It Takes Two story is perfectly fine for a family to sit down and talk about and play. It's a very important... It's actually a family story with redemption and healing at the end. I don't know. I actually think that's actually a very family-appropriate game. I don't know. I don't think it's too hard. My kids could probably play It Takes Two. Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury, man, it's hard in some places. Well, the platforming is tough. I guarantee you that my kids would have an easier time with It Takes Two than they would with Super Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury. For sure. Just pick one of the Marios? No, I want It Takes Two to win this category. I want It Takes Two to win this category. Hang on a second. We need to... Best Sim Strategy Game. We need to... Or I already know what one's going to win this one. I got to schedule the next stream. Hang on a second. Let's see here. Lono has smart kids. They would destroy It Takes Two. They're pretty good at games. It's the platforming in Mario World Bowser's Fury that I think would really be tough for them. It's just it's hard sometimes to get a beat on like where you are. I had a tough time with some of the spots in Mario, like the one where you can't even see the platforms, like you can't even see what you're doing. I don't know. I thought it was a great game, but it was tough. It's tough. Halo Infinite, gaming news, and gameplay. Do this. By the way, there are other ways to support the stream. It is free to subscribe and hit the bell button and the like button. Those are all great ways to support what I do. If you want to support directly with a paid membership, we'd love to see the membership numbers continue to go up as they continue to go down over on Presents. We have moved the main show here. We are considering doing more shows or live content over there, discussing more serious topics. Maybe that'll help some of the membership back over there either bounce back or, you know, get to a good place. You could also order some coffee. We've only had one coffee order for the day. We love to see about 2 or 3 coffee orders a day, so if you want to try it, it's ours. We have a light roast, a dark roast, and a holiday blend. I'm also always wearing a shirt from 80s Tees. You can get a great discount over there by using my code Lono. The displays behind me also, you can get a discount by using my link below in the description or the displate command in chat. And if you're doing any Christmas shopping on Amazon, you can use my Amazon affiliate link in the description below on all of my videos, or you can use the Amazon command in chat. You don't have to do anything, by the way. You don't get like a discount. It's just that if you use my affiliate link before ordering something, you will give me credit, basically. So, okay. And now that that's scheduled, I can come in here and I can schedule or set, the redirect. There we go. Okay. Best sim strategy. Best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of the platform. Age of Empires 4, Evil Geniuses 2, Humankind, Inscription, Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think Microsoft Flight Sim's going to take this. Microsoft Flight Sim just is, in some ways, it's a technological marvel. And so I don't know. I would say they're gonna take it. They're gonna take it. I know lots of people like it. Lots of people love it. I've heard really good things about Inscription, but I think Microsoft Flight Sim just has a huge advantage here. How beautiful it is, how expansive it is. It was highly praised. So I'm going to both vote for and predict a Microsoft Flight Sim win here. So next category is Best Sports or Racing Game. F1 2021, FIFA 22, Forza Horizon 5, Hot Wheels Unleashed, Riders Republic. This is probably between Forza and Riders, with Forza being the clear front runner. I don't think these other games really stand a chance. Riders could be like a weird scrappy steal, but I think Forza Horizon 5, I just don't think you stand a chance against it. The only other game that would potentially steal this and surprise everybody would be Riders, just because of how expansive and big the game is. But Forza 5 is going to be almost impossible to beat in this category. It is just, it's racing game, heaven for so many people. So that's an easy pick, I think. And Riders could surprise us, but I highly doubt it. Best multiplayer game. Now, this category got a lot of games in it. Back 4 Blood, Knockout City, It Takes Two, Monster Hunter Rise, New World, and Valheim. Now, it says for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massive multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. So I don't think Back 4 Blood stands a chance here because of the criticisms and the challenges that they're already sort of dealing with and facing. Knockout City, I just don't think so, because it is pretty narrow, even though it has been praised and has done well. I'm happy for them, but I don't think it's award worthy. I do think that It Takes Two and Monster Hunter Rise, New World, and Valheim are all award worthy for different reasons. It's difficult to pick a winner here, okay? I would pick, based on everything we saw from review scores, Monster Hunter Rise probably stands to be the front runner here, right? Knockout City is the dodgeball battle royale game. It actually got pretty popular for a while there. Streamers were playing it and stuff. I think Monster Hunter Rise is probably the front runner here, based purely off of what we saw from the review scores, okay? And it's a very established and popular brand. It has that as an advantage. Monster Hunter is an established, praised, and beloved brand. Okay, so probably the front runner. The one that is likely in second place because of how insanely popular it was, and there's such a small team, is Valheim. Valheim is probably the second place because it was just insane how it just exploded with popularity, and it was such a small game. such a small game. Now, New World, I think, does deserve the nomination, and potentially you could argue that it deserves to win based purely on its first month of interest and player saturation. I don't necessarily think a multiplayer game having population decline 2.5 to 3 months later is an indictment of the game. That would be an indictment of it being not a great ongoing game, but this is based on it being a multiplayer game. The multiplayer aspects of New World, I think, have been very, very good. Its ongoing quality is what's sort of in doubt right now. I see those as being different. It Takes Two also deserves to win based purely on the fact that it is ambitious in setting out to create a very, very well-designed co-op experience, and based on the fact that it has a Game of the Year nomination and these others do not, I think It Takes Two deserves the win here. That doesn't mean it's going to win. My prediction is that Monster Hunter Rise runs away with this, but the fact that It Takes Two is a multiplayer game that is also having a Game of the Year nomination, I think It Takes Two deserves it. That's my vote and my pick. My prediction is that Monhun will take it. So, Content Creator of the Year. Dream, Fusel, Gauls, Ibai, and Grevg. I don't know who these people are. We're going to click on Dream. That's the only one I recognize. That's the only one I recognize is Dream. I don't know any of the rest of these people. That's not shade. I genuinely have never heard of any of these people. Streamer or content creator who has made an important or positive impact on the community in 2021. Yeah. I am not trying to throw shade. There are so many content creators out there. I have no idea who any of these people are except for Dream. So, if you're tuning in for Video Game Awards winners predictions, we will be co-streaming the awards tonight. So make sure you're sub with the bell button. Best Debut Indie: Artful Escape, The Forgotten City, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Sable, and Valheim. Good for Sable. I don't think it will win. It had issues when it launched and even delayed because of those issues. I don't know these others are strong enough. Artful Escape did look very cool. I've not heard of The Forgotten City. No, I actually think I saw clips of this. My prediction is that Kena takes this. I think Kena will take this because it looks like a freaking Pixar movie, and it was very, very good with respect to its combat. And they fixed the parry window issue pretty quickly. I'm going to vote for and even predict that Kena wins this. If it's not Kena, it's Valheim. As a debut indie, Valheim is incredibly impressive. So if Kena doesn't take it, it goes to Valheim. But I think Kena, out of these debuts, is the strongest. It is the strongest. You have to understand something. Best debut game, Kena is in other categories. Valheim's only in one other category. The rest of these are not. Well, no, Artful Escape's in other categories, but I think Kena's in more categories, which gives it a leg up in this contest. So that's my vote and prediction. Most anticipated game: Elden Ring. Everybody cheers. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Starfield. No, not a doubt in my mind that Elden Ring takes this. None. I don't think so. I don't think Ragnarok or Forbidden West are as anticipated as Elden Ring. I don't. Breath of the Wild maybe because of the Asian market and the Nintendo reach. Definitely not Starfield. Definitely not Starfield. I think it's Elden Ring without a shadow of doubt. The only other one that may take it would be the sequel to Breath of the Wild, simply because of the Asian market reach of Nintendo. But the Asian market and the reach of From Software games with Bandai and From Software and Dark Souls, I think Elden Ring crushes this one with no problem. Weird that Elder Scrolls isn't in there. We don't know enough for it to be anticipated. We know very little. So, Elden Ring takes this. The only one that's even close is probably the sequel to Breath of the Wild. The rest of these, I mean, nothing against God of War Ragnarok and Forbidden West. I'm looking forward to them, but they're just sequels, okay? And we don't know enough about Starfield to really anticipate it. The amount of gameplay we've seen for Elden Ring deserves to win this. Didn't Elden Ring last year too? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think we know enough about Starfield for Starfield to win. Hilly's just being Microsoft. Best esports game presented by Grubhub. Call of Duty, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Dota 2, League of Legends, Valorant. I'm going to vote for Valorant. Valorant's rise and popularity and continued growth, I think, and that it is a brand new game, I think it wins this without any question. The rest of these are just established, long-standing franchises that have probably won Esports Game Awards before. This goes to Valorant. Because its growth in a saturated market is so worthy of praise. It's just so worthy of praise. This is such... Look at what Valorant's going up against, by the way. These are household esports names. Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, CSGO, Dota, and League of Legends. Like... The fact that Valorant is even up there means it deserves to win. Like, that is such a tough market to even get a nomination in. Elden Ring is a Souls game, which is a niche genre, and I really don't think it's that popular. I don't know if you've been paying enough attention, Willie. I don't know if you've been paying enough attention. So, if we go to Elden Ring trailer, okay, on Bandai. Go to Elden Ring on Bandai. 7.6 million views. 7.6 million on that. Starfield. Oh, how long ago did that come out, though? 7.6 million. When did this come out? Where's the date? Why can't I see the date? June 10th. Okay. I might eat crow here. Starfield's trailer from 5 months ago has 16 million views. It has more views. It does. I wonder overall, though, did the new Bandai stuff do better? Oh, wait, this is the Bandai Europe channel. Where's the official Bandai channel? That might not be the right trailer. Bandai Namco Entertainment. Did they... What's the official one? Because that might not be the right trailer. Elden Ring. That might be why it has less views. Yeah, see, the problem is with Elden Ring is they've got the trailer in so many different places. They have Bandai Namco Entertainment America. They have Bandai Namco Europe. This isn't going to be a good determiner because Starfield has like one outlet where the trailer goes. Bandai has like so many different channels. I don't know if that's a fair one. I don't know. Elden Ring won last year's most anticipated. Well, maybe it'll lose this year because of that. That's always a possibility. Dark Souls 3 has 10 million in sales, but it's niche. Yeah. I think the reason Elden Ring takes it is because it's in a category of, sure, it's niche, but there are people that have never touched a From Software game that want to play it, and I think that's where it gets a little bit different. Thank you for your vote, Paul. That's great. So, all right. Next category. Best esports athlete. I don't know. I don't know any of these guys. Simp, Shadowmaker, Collapse, Simple, and Tens. I don't know. I'm gonna vote for Simp just because I think it's hilarious that that's his nickname. He like actually nicknamed himself Simp. What are you supposed to do when you want to cheer for him on the purple platform? Since that soft, safe room mentality over there, they don't let you say that word anymore. Simple. Oh, did I get it right? Oh, Simple instead of Simp. Everybody in chat saying Simple. Simple's literally a GOAT CSGO player. Hilly Hijinks. Best esports team. I don't know. Atlanta FaZe, DWG, Nautis, Sentinels, Team Spirit. I don't know. I have no idea. I get the excitement for Elden Ring because the world looks amazing, but it's still a Souls game and it's a niche genre. I don't think it's a niche genre anymore. I don't think so. No. I think in my video that Elden Ring is changing the industry. I don't think so. Wheezy says Nodus. All right, I'll pick Nodus. Yeah, you have to remember something, Willie, with what you're saying. Let me just remind you of something, that Sekiro won Game of the Year. So what you're saying doesn't really stand to reason, or the past. So, Starfield might win only because Elden Ring already won the award once before. Best Esports Coach. Silent, Eng, Biad, Crowder, and Kakoma. So is Bloodborne? Yeah, like Bloodborne and Sekiro have won Game of the Year, so I don't think that's a determiner of whether or not something's going to win. If you guys are just tuning in for Video Game Awards winners predictions, we've been combing over it all. We will be streaming this event tonight. So make sure you're subbed, make sure your bell button is set to all, and then just be here around 7 o'clock Eastern. People are saying Kakoma, okay? Wheezy and somebody else said Kakoma, so I'll just vote for Kakoma. Best Esports Event. League of Legends World Championship, the International, PGL Major Stockholm, PUBG Mobile Global Championship, Valorant Champions Tour. I'm just going to go with Valorant because I think Valorant deserves love for how they've broken into the market. That's our last category. View categories. So let's go back through. Game of the Year. I made a very strong case at the beginning of all of this that Deathloop has no business being up there when Returnal exists, based on where we are in gaming and how there were very few true next-gen games that even launched this last year, and that should have given Returnal an enormous leg up, being both a new IP and actually being next-gen, and being ambitious with respect to its genre of being a third-person action-adventure bullet hell rogue. I think is a significant thing in its corner. And so that is why I think Returnal should be up here. But I voted for Ratchet and Clank because I'm fairly certain that this is Ratchet's award to lose. And so that's why I picked that one. And It Takes Two being up here for Game of the Year is why I think it should win Multiplayer Game of the Year. Mainly, again, because if you're going to nominate it for Game of the Year and Multiplayer Game of the Year, that to me, it just stands to reason that you would give it Multiplayer Game as well. Oh, yes, a sold genre that sold, checks notes, 32 million copies. It's got to be one of the most popular genres out there. From Software is pushing 30 million in total sales for its games. That's not niche. The Souls series is the youngest outside of the anomaly that is Minecraft to sell over 30 million copies. Yeah, so the Souls series has sold over 30 million copies, and in that's not common. Outside of Minecraft, it's the youngest series to do that. Weezy saying it's already over 30 million. Yeah, according to the audience, if you guys have taken the poll today, Game of the Year vote, it's at the top of the chat if you want to vote in our poll or talk in our chat. Make sure you are subscribed. Which is your Game of the Year vote? We did have to take off Deathloop, and I took off Deathloop, and I took off Resident Evil. Well, no, wait, what? Metroid. I took off Deathloop and Metroid because I don't think they have a chance to win, personally. So, I just don't think so. I don't think Metroid and Deathloop have a chance. I don't think Deathloop should be even up there, but so yeah. What are we getting on search? Okay, Game Awards. Game Awards and Game Awards 2021 is what we're covering. Souls is the youngest series. It's the youngest series to sell over 30 million copies. It's a full statement. I think the reason people think Souls games are a niche, game is because it's an audience that doesn't feel mainstream. Like, I probably would have said the same thing if I didn't know the sales numbers that you just trotted out. Does that make sense? Like, from the outside looking in, From Software games do seem niche because it's like, man, they appeal to such a unique, seemingly unique style of gamer, right? They don't seem like a game that mainstream gamers would enjoy. They just don't. And again, that's a perception thing. That's not a factual thing. That's what it seems like. It seems like, who on earth would play these games in great quantities? You know, 32 million for an entire genre isn't exactly groundbreaking. Why is it in what other genres have done that well at the speed at which is which is done? Does anyone actually care about the video game awards? Are you serious? Have you gone to the Video Game Award channel and seen how much viewership that they get? Between all the outlets that the Video Game Awards are broadcast, have you seen the level of viewership that they get, the level of interaction, the reach of the brand? There's also an overblown narrative surrounding them. We're right about how hard they are. Right, I know where you come from on that one. Sure. VGAs have a massive audience, but truly I think people watch more for the reveals than the actual rewards. No, Parkour, I think it's both. And that's why I think the viewership is so high. I think the viewership is high because you get both. People want to see the awards. They want to see the games that win and the games that don't. And then they also watch for the reveals. I think it's a great Venn diagram of viewership. Lots of people tune in. Yeah, like, as an example, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, 31 million. Saints Row, 32 million. Souls games have sold 32 million. So it's up there with Saints Row and Splinter Cell. And you have to look at the starting dates, right? Souls games from February of 2009 have sold 32 million. They've sold more than Saints Row, and Saints Row has been out since 2006. They've sold more than Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, and Splinter Cell's been out since 2002. So the window of time for Souls games is shorter, and yet it has surpassed two very well-known franchises, both Saints Row and Splinter Cell. 30 million divided by how many games? Who cares how many games? Who cares? Because Saints Row, do you think Saints Row and Splinter Cell are niche titles? I don't think so. Those are pretty mainstream, pretty brand recognizable titles. Saints Row and Splinter Cell are very recognizable. You would consider those to be mainstream titles. You wouldn't think that those are niche. And yet they've sold less than the Souls games over a longer period of time. Arguably, there's probably more Splinter Cell games than there are Souls games. When was the last mainline Splinter Cell game, though? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's probably more Splinter Cells than there are Souls. Splinter Cell is definitely niche. If we weren't having this discussion, I don't think anybody would on their own voluntarily be like, yeah, Splinter Cell's pretty niche. Nobody would say that. It's a Tom Clancy game. What are you talking about? It's a Tom Clancy game. That doesn't, what? Yeah, baby numbers. Yeah, but you can't compare it to Call of Duty Mobile. It's a roguelike? What's a roguelike? Splinter Cell's not a roguelike, and neither are Souls games. What are you talking about? Are you thinking of Dead Cells? Splinter Cell, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, which has had 7 releases. It's a stealth game, though. Splinter Cell is stealth. Okay. Assassin's Creed has stealth in it. Do you think Assassin's Creed's you don't think it's a mainstream recognizable brand? What? 30 million copies over 11 years. I don't understand. How does Splinter Cell having stealth in it mean that it's niche? Meant stealth, not rogue? I am so confused. Tom Clancy is one of the most established military brands with respect to shows, movies, and video games. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell and Sam Fisher. It's an iconic brand. It's a recognizable brand. It's not niche. What on earth? AC games are open world RPGs now? Well, traditionally they were stealth, and Assassin's Creed wouldn't be considered niche just because it's stealth. It was a very popular game. The first three Assassin's Creeds were very popular. You wouldn't consider them to be niche. I don't know. I think people are wanting the Souls games to be niche, and so they're calling other games niche. Like, you wouldn't call Saints Row niche. Use that as an example. Saints Row, as a franchise, has sold as many copies as the Souls franchise over a longer period of time. Who in their right mind is going to tell me that Saints Row is niche? It's like the discount version of Grand Theft Auto. It's a very recognizable brand. It's a very popular brand. Splinter Cell isn't recognizable to people under 25. Okay. That's how we determine if a game is mainstream or niche in the gaming world. Niche definition: interests that appeal to a small, specialized section. For the record, the Souls franchise sales don't even take into account the Sekiro and Bloodborne, which are over 5 million or so each. So if we include Sekiro and Bloodborne, we're talking about 40 million in sales. I don't know. It's not this weird little offshoot cult following game. It isn't. Dark Souls 1 you could say that about. Sure. Dark Souls 1 is niche and not beloved by lots of people. It's a cult classic at this point and has a cult following. Last entry was 2013, not saying it's not mainstream, just that it's not relevant anymore. Right, that's not what's being disputed though, Adam. That's why when you said that, I was like, that doesn't really apply. You're not incorrect to be like, it's an outdated game, 2013, nobody would even recognize it. That's true, but not really applicable to what we're discussing. We're discussing that, like, yeah, the first Demon Souls was niche. Sure. I would think that the first Dark Souls was pretty niche because it was ridiculously hard and no one knew. There are people that didn't even understand that game. There's a higher demographic that wants to play Souls-like games than Splinter Cell or Saints Row. Well, now especially, sure. Yeah. I would say up to Dark Souls 2, it would have been considered niche. Souls ain't niche at all. Almost every reviewer these days references those games, and almost everyone knows what they are. How's it not relevant, though? Sam's in Rainbow Six. Yeah, they just put Sam Fisher in Rainbow Six. That is true. Splinter Cell is a little bit more relevant now. Yeah. Sorry, Bloodborne is 2 million roughly. Sekiro is 5 to 6. So call it 7 to 8. Combined, and 40 million total, not even taking into account Elden Ring yet. Sure. I agree with the point you're making. I just don't think Splinter Cell was a good example. I agree with Saints Row. We were just showing that, like, very, very long-standing, and it doesn't need to be recognizable, but long-standing franchises haven't sold as much as Souls in over a longer period of time. Splinter Cell's not niche. It was competing with Metal Gear Solid at one point in regards of stealth. How can a game be called niche when tons of other games are using its mechanics and gameplay style? Right, we literally have a genre now called Souls-like. Splinter Cell is the most popular stealth franchise except Metal Gear and Batman. Right, yeah, Splinter Cell was just in the screenshot. I mean, the idea being that, like, these are long-standing franchises. They've been around for a super long time. You know, Ubisoft Splinter Cell game that is in early development is currently being scoped as, you guessed it, open world of sorts. Yeah, here's some other good ones to compare with. Like, Kingdom Hearts as a franchise has sold 35 million. So Souls has sold about 40 million if we include Bloodborne and Sekiro. BioShock, 37 million. Counter-Strike, 35 million. So Kingdom Hearts, BioShock, and Counter-Strike have all been outsold by the Souls franchise. So Fallout, here's a good one. Yeah, Fallout, 38 million. Kirby, 38 million. So Kirby and Fallout as franchises are right hovering around the Souls at 40 million. Here's the thing. I just think people underestimate how popular the games are. I got news for you. A couple of years ago, I probably would have thought the same thing. I'd have been like, yeah, those games don't really appeal to a broad audience. They're pretty niche. No, they're not. I thought the same thing about sim games. Sim games are, I think, probably the most popular PC games in existence. I think they are the single most popular category of games in Steam, is simulation games, sim games. And I would have never thought that. Yeah, Tony Hawk and Command & Conquer, those franchises, 30 million. These definitions of niche are weird. How is Dark Souls not niche? Literally, there is only a small subset of gamers that enjoy punishing games like that. Fazimoto, are you not hearing any of the numbers I'm trotting out? Very big established franchises. Half-Life as a franchise, 27 million. Ratchet and Clank as a franchise, 26 million. The Souls games, 32 million. If you include Sekiro and Bloodborne, it's 40 million total sales as a franchise. It's outsold other mainstream franchises. Gears of War as a franchise, 26 million. There are more copies of the Dark Souls games that have been sold than Gears of War. It is not a small subset. It is not niche. I would have never guessed that, by the way. My ignorance is being shattered, same as yours, right now. If somebody would have said, out of the 3 Souls games and all of the Gears games, which do you think has amassed more sales? I'd have been like, Gears of War. It's more mainstream. And I would have been wrong. The Souls category, Souls 1, 2, and 3, has outsold as a franchise Gears of War. Working, didn't know those numbers. It's crazy. I'm being educated as much as you, Fozzie. I would have guessed that Gears of War had outsold the Souls games because the perception that you guys are speaking into existence, the perception is the Souls games are niche. Not a lot of people play those games. They're so friggin' hard that it just simply isn't true. The commercial success of the Souls franchise is outshining other, what you would consider and what I would consider mainstream franchises. Yeah, Mass Effect. Mass Effect is a franchise, 20 million. So, Souls has outsold Mass Effect. Think about that for just a minute. Like, here's a report from GameSpot. Dark Souls 3 has sold over 10 million copies, pushing the series total to... I don't know what the rest of it says. Here's what I think people underestimate as well. I think Souls is very successful in the Asian market. And a lot of the games that you think of as being mainstream and big and all of this aren't successful in the Asian market. I will say that the From Software you know, its origins and its roots being Japanese developers gives it a huge leg up in the global video game market, which adds to its totals in pretty significantly. I'm legit floored by these numbers. I've been making fun of Souls players for there only being 23 of them. You know what's funny, Vengeance? In your circles, you probably feel that to be the reality, because I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the people that play Souls games aren't hanging out in English-speaking arenas. They're probably Japanese. There's an entire game of genre of games now called Souls. Souls-like or Souls-esque. You don't get a genre named after you if you're niche, right? Souls has lore that is still being unearthed to this day. The Tomb Prospectors are still to this day discovering secrets in the Chalice dungeons in Bloodborne. The PvP scene keeps the game active. I think some of this is a regional, your geocentric perception is getting shattered right now. The Asian market tilts the scales in so many ways. Because there are people that probably think right now, probably not in the chat, because we've talked about this recently, but I bet you there are Americans that think like consoles are in higher circulation than PC. But once you look at the Asian market, no, PC gaming is exploding, both in India and in Japan. They're not even particularly Japanese by nature. Yeah, if Dark Souls had like a JRPG look and feel, people would have probably thought, oh yeah, those are really popular, just not here. Cuphead was talked about as being like a 2D Souls game. Yeah, and people said that Jedi Fallen Order was Souls light. Light. It was like Souls light. And people have said that about Kane and Bridge of Spirits. It's Souls light. A few years ago, I would have said Monhun is niche, but in Japan, it's like Pokemon levels of popular. It's everywhere. Yeah. Your success on From Fridays proves it's very popular here, too. It is, Knight, but I think in the circles that you run in, if you play games like, you know, if you play games like Destiny, you're not going to rub shoulders with a lot of Souls people. You just aren't. You're in a pool of people that are going to have a propensity against those games. I think the Soulsborne genre transcends the traditional Japanese player base. I think sometimes you guys really, really struggle to understand what I'm saying, and it's not my fault. I'm a very good orator. I said that the Japanese market tilts the scales. I didn't say that, like, it's you don't need to tell me it transcends the traditional Japanese player base. The Asian market tilts the scales because it's a Japanese developer, and a lot of it appeals to that region. I wasn't saying that, like, it's not popular in America. I wasn't saying that. I didn't even indicate that. What I think happens is Americans get geocentric, and we rub shoulders with Americans and English-speaking persons, and we play certain games, and it creates a perception that, like, yeah, Souls games are niche, and you're not rubbing shoulders with Koreans or Indians, the country of India, Indians, and you're not rubbing shoulders with Japanese persons. You just aren't. And if you were, you would know, these games are insanely popular. What are you talking about? As somebody just pointed out with Monhun. A lot of games famous in Asia, you guys don't even know they exist. Right. I wasn't saying that about From Software games. I was simply saying the Asian market tilts the scales big time. Big time. As soon as you leave the West, game trends change. Like I said, if the Dark Souls games looked and felt like a JRPG, I think people would assume, oh, those are probably pretty popular, just not over here. That happens all the time, right? You see a JRPG land like Nier, or you see something like, what was the one, Tales of Arise or whatever, and you just assume, you're like, oh, that's probably pretty popular, just not here in the West. What I'm saying is that the game appeals to a broader player base, unlike a traditional turn-based JRPG that is niche. It was a broad statement. Right, but you weren't countering or really interacting with what I said. I even said, and I just repeated it, that if Souls did look like a more traditional JRPG, I think Westerners would be like, oh, it's probably pretty popular. I think Westerners and Americans know. I think they know that JRPGs are massively popular. The thing about a From Software game is it looks like a melee-based, sort of dungeon-based action-adventure game, and you're like, yeah, I don't think those games are very popular. Why? Because your 30 American friends don't touch it. Right? JRPGs are now mainstream. They certainly are becoming more mainstream, but they're still not as popular in the West. No way. Their player base has got to be, I guarantee a JRPG's player base is a 70-30 split when you compare, East to West. Are we supposed to have switched? Oh gosh, we have 6 minutes. Yeah, we want to keep this. We want to make sure we continue to keep these videos short. Let me give myself an outline for my Halo impressions. Combat, story, graphics, review scores. Okay. All right. We got to switch gears. Good discussion, though. Good discussion. We always have very lively debates here. Okay. We'll be switching over to giving you my first impressions of the Halo Infinite campaign and following it with more gameplay. Hang on. Oh wait, that's gameplay. Edit this one. This playlist should be sort by added. There we go. I hate when that does that. If you edit the playlist at all, it throws everything off. There we go. Audio? What's wrong with audio? Okay, 520 votes. All right. That's where we're going. Oh, I can now go to channel. That's new. That's a new chat function. They add a new chat function. Gotta admit, it's nuts the amount of content we get out of Lono and Creature. I appreciate anybody noticing how much content we create. I do. I really do. Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be my first impressions of the Halo Infinite campaign, sort of a quick review and first impressions right here at the beginning of the video. I am then going to be jumping in and doing more campaign gameplay. So if you're looking for that, welcome to watch. This will be a spoiler-free first impressions as well. No spoilers contained in these first impressions, and I will be doing a live redirect to bring over people from the other stream and video that we did.